Tenants Samuel Gastelum for an assault.
Judy enters the courtroom.
Court come to order. All rise.
She takes her seat behind the bench.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2035, Rodriguez versus Gastelum.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
what kind of a premises do you live in, sir?
It's a 4-bedroom house.
And I see here that you rent out some of the rooms in order to assist with your mortgage.
That's correct.
How many rooms do you rent out?
3.
And who lives in the other?
Right now it's Kathleen Meister, and then I have 2 other roommates.
And you use one room.
Correct.
When did you rent a room to the defendant?
It was January 22,
And what was the rent that you were charging him?
$750 a month.
When he came to you, did he have a dog?
No.
When did you move in?
About late January,
Give me a day.
22nd.
And you moved in alone.
Yes, ma'am.
Paid your rent on time?
Yes, ma'am.
February, paid your rent on time?
Yes, ma'am.
Lived there alone?
Yes, ma'am.
What about March?
Did I live there alone in March also? Yes, ma'am.
When did you get a dog?
I've had my dog
No, when did you get a dog that you brought into the house?
April 22nd, 23rd.
So several months after you moved in. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And before you moved the dog in, did you have a discussion with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Just prior to moving in with the dog. And what was the discussion that you had with the plaintiff?
That if it was okay if I were to bring my dog that I had in Alaska, since I had him since he was about 6-7 weeks.
And where had he been in the last 2 months?
He was still in Alaska staying with close friends, and I flew to Seattle, shipped my truck and all my belongings to Seattle and drove here. From Seattle, my dog, the person who was watching him, drove from Alaska to Montana, and I had gone to Montana to pick him up.
So you asked Mr. Rodriguez if it was okay if you brought your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say?
Yes.
Did he say anything else?
He said, just clean
Now
up.
look at me.
He said,
Did he say anything else
clean
other
up
than...
after the dog, make sure that the dogs don't fight, and just take care of him.
Okay. Nothing about him staying out of the house?
He said he wouldn't prefer him to be around the house, but he would not. It would be okay for him to be in my room.
In your room?
Mm-hmm. The dog stayed with me in that room a few nights, and he knowingly knew about it.
No, I don't want to know what he knew. I want to know what your arrangement was. So your arrangement with him, according to you, now, I haven't asked him, but according to you, is that you asked him if you could bring your dog. He said okay for the dog to stay outside, but could stay in your room.
He said he didn't want him in the living area. My dog could also be in the garage or
in your room. And was everything okay in April when you brought the dog?
Yeah, everything was
What
fine.
about May?
May, I was looking for a new place. I was homeless because I had spent 5 days in jail.
Oh, I'm talking about before you went to jail, sir. Before you went to jail, because this case is about an assault, which is what the plaintiff is claiming. Plaintiff is claiming that you assaulted him in the home, and that took place on April 30th. That was shortly after your dog arrived.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the dog was the reason for the altercation.
A part of
Because
the reason, but that's
in
how it started.
February, March, and up until April, the end of April, when the dog was there, I see no evidence here that there was any difficulty.
You're right.
Fair statement? Yeah. So that the problem arose when the dog came. Now, this woman's name is Kathleen. She's interspersed in both the complaint and the answer. In this case, she had a cat. Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
He had a cat. And it was a house cat.
Yes, ma'am.
Plaintiff has a dog.
A few dogs.
And they live in the house.
Yes, they stay in the garage and in the backyard, yes.
Garage and backyard, do they stay in the house?
They do not go inside that.
Okay, so his dogs stay outside, and he said to you, according to you, the dogs can stay outside in the garage and in your room.
Yes.
In April, did your dog get out of your room or into the house?
Yes.
Yes. On what date?
April 30th, because I was allowing him inside to go to my room.
On April 30th, the dog was where?
In the backyard, but I was bringing him inside to come to my room.
You were bringing him from outside to come into your room. I haven't asked him. He says in his papers that the dog was supposed to remain outside. You were bringing him inside to your room.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it is your claim here that it is an emotional support dog.
Yes, ma'am.
And you also had at least a couple of months where you left the dog in Alaska.
With
right?
people I trust.
I don't care people who you trusted not. If you needed an emotional support animal, the emotional support animal has to travel with you. So don't show me a certificate. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
By the way, did that certificate that you have come from a psychiatrist?
No.
No. Did it come from a psychologist?
No.
Did it come from any doctor who was treating you?
There was a doctor's note, yes.
Was a doctor who was treating you?
Yes.
Yes. Not a psychiatrist?
Not a psychiatrist, no.
Not a psychologist?
Not a psychologist.
And you took this note and you had to send it to somebody over the internet?
Yes.
And then they sent you a certificate?
Yes, and with an ID.
That's what I got. Okay, so now you're bringing the dog on April 30th from the backyard into the house, and?
He attempts to grab the dog.
No. Is the dog on a leash?
No, he's very well.
Just a sec. Is the dog on a leash?
No.
Were you holding the dog by the collar?
Yes.
And now you're taking the dog from outside to inside. What did he say to you?
No dogs in the house.
Because that's what he had said to you before. You can have your dog, but no dogs in the house. I want to tell you something. That's what I believe. So he said, no dogs in the house. And you said to him,
I'm going to bring my dog into my room.
But when you asked him if you could bring the dog to the house, there is no question in my mind that he said to you, bring the dog to the house, but the dog doesn't come into the house.
He stayed in my room a few nights prior to that.
I don't
He had
care.
already
Listen to me.
approved
That's what the arrangement was, sir.
Okay.
The arrangement was not what you told me before. The arrangement was with him. Yes, you can bring the dog to the house. I will let you do that. But the dog has to stay either in the garage or outside like my dogs.
Okay.
And you said, in effect, screw you. I'm bringing my dog, and I'm bringing my dog into my room.
In effect.
You're the tenant. That was the agreement. You can have the dog, but the dog must not be in the house. That's what your landlord told you. You brought the dog from Alaska, and at the very beginning, you brought the dog into your room.
Mm-hmm.
When had you decided that you were going to breach the agreement with him?
The very first night I went to receive my dog, he stayed at the house inside my room with me.
So the very first night that you brought him, you decided to breach the agreement that
He
you
had
had.
knowingly said it was okay.
Did you tell him it was okay?
Never.
I have texts.
I'd like to see it.
I have to scroll back.
Scroll
quite
to
a
wherever
while.
you have to scroll. Scroll down to the creation. I don't care. I have all day here. Nobody is hungry.
I'm a
Still
little
have
hungry.
2 more cases to do before lunch. Everybody gets a little testy, including me.
I don't have the text. I do not have the text.
Yeah, good. That's what I thought. Okay. It wasn't on the 30th that the dog got loose in the house. It was sometime before that, maybe a day or so before that. On the 30th was a day, sir, that you got locked out of the house. Uh-huh
Yes,
is
Your
not
Honor.
an answer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And what time of the day was it that you got locked out of the house?
2 o'clock after middle afternoon, late afternoon.
And according to what I read, you went to the back of the house to let yourself into the house, and you got into an altercation with Kathleen. Absolutely, she shouldn't have put her hands on and slapped you because you were fresh. Because you wouldn't be fresh to me, right?
Fresh?
Fresh. That's what you say to a child. Fresh. How old are you?
65.
How old are you?
25.
That's fresh.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Armando and Samuel.
Armando Rodriguez claims his former tenant, Samuel Gastelum, is responsible for damages from an assault. Samuel says he was the one assaulted and falsely arrested.
Now, you got into an altercation with Kathleen.
Not quite, Your Honor.
Well, tell me what happened.
I had been outside, I went out the garage, and I was playing a time-sensitive game on my Xbox. So I was going back to the room, and I knocked on the garage door. No one answered, knocked on it a few times, pounded. Then I went back around and knocked on the sliding glass door a few times, one of the few times. Finally, Kathleen comes up and answers the door. At that point, I've been out there for about 10 minutes. So I'm upset. I'm like, who locked me out? Who locked the door? She gets completely defensive. She says, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And I'm like, I'm asking who it was. Because Armando and I had discussed.
Because you're on a time-sensitive
Yes, ma'am.
video game.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
You were on a time-sensitive
yes, I was
video
doing
game.
Something time
How old are you?
25 years old.
Okay, so now you're on a time-sensitive video game and somebody either on purpose or accidentally locked the door, and you think it's Kathleen.
No, I did not accuse anyone. I just
Okay.
asked was who locked me out, because I had been locked out earlier that week. Again,
Did you?
earlier by Armando.
Just a second. Did you have a key to the house?
on my-
No. Did you have...
I had a front door key,
Key.
not to the garage door, not to the sliding door.
But you had a front door key.
Yes, Your Honor, but there's a gate. There's a big fence, and I didn't have a key to the gate that was locked.
You couldn't get into the house even with your front door key.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, after you had a conversation with her, there was no physicality between the two of you.
Not at that moment, but once Armando came around the corner, he's like, it was me who locked you out. So me and him...
Now, just a second. He said, it was me that locked you out. Did he say he did that on purpose, or was
it was an accident, is what
Did he
said.
say? Okay, so he said it was me that locked you out. It was an accident.
It wasn't the first time.
It's not...
Yes, Your Honor.
That's yes. First, second, I've locked my children out of the house many times, sometimes on purpose,
I'm not his
sometimes
child.
by accident.
I'm his roommate.
It doesn't make any difference. So he said to you, it was an accident. And you said to him...
It's happened before.
And he said to you...
Those were accidents also.
Okay, and he said those were accidents also.
Yes.
And you said to him...
I said you need to be more attentive, more aware. If someone had just walked out and left the door unlocked, you should probably go and see if anyone's out there before you turn around and lock the door.
And he said?
He said he apologized.
Okay, so he said, I apologize.
Yes.
Okay, what's next?
Throughout that whole conversation, me and him are arguing
Okay,
back and
but
forth.
at the end, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I apologize.
It's not so clear-cut.
Well, it's at the end of this back and forth. You should have been more careful. You should look to see who's at the door. You've done it before. I'm sorry. It was an accident. I apologize. Now I haven't apologized. And
in
next.
the middle of that altercation, Kathleen kept butting in. She said, you don't talk to me like that. You don't talk to me like that. I said, I wasn't even talking to you. I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm talking to Armando. I said, mind your own business. She said, oh, you don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me what to do. I said, mind your own business. She said, say that to me one more time. And I said, mind your own business. She walks across the hall and she slaps me across the face, and Armando grabs her hand right after she smacks me. And instead of retaliating aggressively or any type of thing, I call the police. Immediately call the police. And while we're waiting there for the police, that's when I get the apology from Armando. That's when he's like, okay, let's make a deal. Let's try to work this out before the police get there. The police get there, they ask me what had happened.
And you say that this older woman slapped you because you were
across
fresh.
the face.
Because you were fresh.
No, because
she shouldn't have put her hands on and slapped you because you were fresh. Because you wouldn't be fresh to me, right?
Fresh?
Fresh. That's what you say to a child. Fresh. You were being fresh. And she should not have put her hands on you. Would I have called the police about that? Maybe.
Except I am not a child, Your
Just
Honor.
a sec.
I'm not a child. I'm not related to these people.
I just said to you, you were being fresh. How old are you?
65.
How old are you?
25.
That's fresh. That's fresh, because first you accused her of locking you out.
I didn't accuse her.
Yeah. Okay. So after she slapped you, the police arrived. They left. She said, she slapped you. Yes. You have marks. You have cuts. You have bruises. You have abrasions. No. They left. Well, what did you expect when you called the police for them to arrest her? What did you want them to do, sir?
Was I supposed to retaliate? How was I supposed to retaliate? Was I supposed to hit her back?
Just a second. No.
Okay, then what was I supposed to do?
I'm not telling you what to do.
Okay.
I'm just asking you, sir, did you expect them, when you called the police, to arrest Kathleen because she slapped you?
No, I expected there to be consequences for her assaulting me.
What? So
I don't know what
did
the
you think?
consequences
So
were.
what did you think that they should do?
Whatever they feel was right.
Okay.
Whatever is justice.
Okay. Now let's move on. So now the police are gone, and
I go speak to Armando. I asked why he sacrificed his integrity for lying for Kathleen, for saying that she didn't slap him, because he told the police he witnessed no such event. He didn't see nothing, even though he was standing right there, grabbed her hand. Kathleen says she didn't do it. And the police came up to me before they left. They said, they're telling me something else. I just straight up, I just don't believe you. I just like, okay, well, what else can I do? I go to Armando and I'm like, why would you sacrifice your integrity? Why would you lie to the police? Why would you let another roommate physically assault me and just no consequences whatsoever? And at that point is when I tried to bring my dog inside and just go straight to my room.
Just a second. So at that time, after this hot spot is over,
It got heated again.
got heated again. Your reaction was childish, and you said, I'm going to get my dog that I was told not to bring in the house, and I'm going to bring my dog in the house.
I was going to my...
Just a second. I don't care if you were going to Pluto. Your reaction after this was, they can't tell me what to do. I'm going outside, and I'm going to bring my dog inside. He'll let you bring the dog to the house, but the dog can't come in the house, stays outside with his dogs. There's only one animal in the house, and that's Kathleen's house cat. That's it. So you went to bring your dog from outside to in the house.
Yes, Your Honor.
In violation of the agreement that you had with your landlord. After the police had come, I just want you to realize what's going on.
Oh,
I just want you to realize that they don't actually keep me here because I'm 5'6" and gorgeous. I understand what happened when you were disappointed that Kathleen had slapped you like a child because you were fresh. And she's not your mother, and she had no right, even your mother doesn't have a right to put their hands on you.
Correct.
But you got slapped, not injured, no broken jaw, no broken skin. Police didn't see anything because if they did, they would have arrested somebody. And they left. And you were royally miffed. Because you got locked out of the house for which he apologized, you missed your time-sensitive video game. Now, I'm not sure what that is, because I'm not a 25-year-old idiot that plays video games during the day.
Caption coming up. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Armando and Samuel.
Armando Rodriguez is accusing his former roommate, Samuel Gastelum, of breaking their rental agreement and assaulting him. Samuel claims he was falsely arrested after Armando lied to the police.
Now, several things that happened that day, right? You got locked out and you were playing a time-sensitive video game.
Yes, Your Honor.
And because you got locked out of the house for which he apologized, you missed your time-sensitive video game. Now, I'm not sure what that is, because I'm not a 25-year-old idiot that plays video games during the day. When I was 25 years old, I actually worked. I did, I actually worked. I know that may seem foreign to you, but I did actually work. And so after all of this altercation took place, you said, now I'm gonna show him, now I'm gonna bring my dog into the house. And then there was another altercation. Second one.
Yes.
That's the one we're talking about. By the way, maybe I'm being terribly unkind to you, sir. How do you support yourself?
I work.
For whom?
Pretty foreign, I know.
For whom?
I'm a cultivator.
You work 5 days a week?
Yes, Your Honor. And in my free time,
What do you
I like to
cultivate?
play video
What do you
games.
cultivate?
Marijuana, cannabis.
How long have you worked for them?
Since March, so about 5 months.
Prior to that, you were in Alaska.
Prior to January, I was in Alaska. Before March, before getting the job at the cultivation facility for cannabis, I was helping my uncles do concrete. So working isn't very foreign to me, as you might see.
Prior to March, you were working with your uncles in concrete.
Yes,
Where?
Your Honor. In Victorville, in California.
You were working. You were working for your uncle prior to March, getting a job as a cultivator. And what I want to know is, how long had you been separated from your emotional support dog?
I spent 4 months away from him, and those 4 months were from January to April. For finding a
January,
job.
February, March, April. And what were you doing in Alaska?
I was born and raised in Alaska.
Alaska is not a born, that's not a job, sir. What were you doing in Alaska?
I was, for the last 6 months of my time in Alaska, I was a bud tender.
Okay, tell me what happened after the dog incident.
Well, the dog comes in. He says that he's not going to follow house rules anymore. He says as of right now, he's going to do what he wants to do. So he just gets the dog from the backyard and he comes inside the house. And I feel that it's my responsibility to enforce the house rules. So I physically grab his dog and I move the dog from inside the house to the backyard. That happens once. He gets the dog and then he physically puts him back in the house.
Where in the house?
This is, you could say, the kitchen area. So now I basically attempt to repeat what I did the first time. So I physically grab the dog a second time and I'm now physically taking him out, at which point he gets from behind me and he puts me into a chokehold and I black out. I come to, I look for my phone, I find my phone, dial 911, police show up like in maybe 2 or 3 minutes and I'm still trying to get.
And that's the assault that you are referring to
Yes, ma'am.
today. Did the EMS check you out?
I was taken to the hospital.
May I see the report?
Yeah, I got a report and then I have
He produces a document.
the bills associated with
Okay.
with.
Was Kathleen a witness to this?
She saw.
No,
like-
don't tell me what she saw. Was she a witness to any part of that?
Yeah,
Yes or a no?
yeah.
Okay. Would you step up, please?
Kathleen stands at Armando's side.
Tell me at what point you came in on this altercation.
When they were arguing about the dog.
The first time or the second time? Or you don't know whether...
I don't really know.
Were you a witness to any of the physical confrontation that resulted in Mr. Rodriguez going to the hospital?
I knew that they,
Don't tell me what you knew.
okay,
It's what you saw.
Okay, what I saw was Armando trying to put the dog back outside because he's a big pit bull, right? And then he would put him out, and then Samuel would bring him back in. And then the last time, Armando was putting him back outside, and Samuel came behind Armando. And what I did was I left and went and called the police because I was afraid he was going to get hurt.
All right, sir. Now tell me your version of those events.
Could I show her statement from the previous court?
No, I want you to first tell me your version of the events.
So I let Apollo inside. My dog's name is Apollo, and he's going to grab Apollo to let him out. And we're both kind of grabbing Apollo, pulling him, we're both kind of fighting over him a little bit. As I'm pulling him inside more, Armando starts grabbing me. And so we get into this altercation, and we're like wrestling back and forth.
Just a second. He's trying to get your pit bull outside, and at the same time he's grabbing you? Is that the...
No, we were both grabbing the dog.
So you were trying to keep the dog inside, and he was trying to put the dog outside?
I was trying to take him to my room, yes. Take him.
You were trying to take him to your room. He was trying to put him outside.
Yes.
And?
As we're both kind of fighting for the dog, he grabs me. He lets go of the dog and then grabs me.
How did he grab you?
He grabs me by the arm, and then he like starts tugging a little bit, and so we're wrestling. We just start wrestling, and it gets a little bit more violent. And I go to restrain him, and he's hitting me. He's hitting me from with his arms. He's trying to scratch me, and I just restrained him until I felt not threatened no more. I released him. I get up. I grab my dog. I go to the room. And I call the police.
Mm-hmm. Do you have your medical records that day?
They would not take me. They didn't.
They would not take you. Do you have your medical records for that day?
I have my arrest report that says apparently they didn't.
May I see the arrest report, please?
They refused to take pictures.
Don't tell me what they didn't do. I could read.
Kevin takes the document from Samuel, then brings it to Judy.
Do you have medical insurance, sir?
No.
None. Okay, so you had an emergency room CT scan that was $8,640.62. The other bill for that day was for radiology, which was $518. This is the emergency room, which was $1,109. Okay, well, that takes us over this court's limit jurisdictionally. Now, you, sir, subsequently had a hearing with regard to this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you testify, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you testify, sir?
I did.
At the end of that hearing, was there a restraining order granted or not?
It was granted.
For how long? Do you have a copy of that?
I have a copy.
It was a year.
So a judge, like me, probably not as good looking, after hearing, so I don't have to hear it, all of the evidence, the judge found that there was more evidence than not that you assaulted the plaintiff and granted the plaintiff an order of protection for 1 year. After that happened, you were still in the house.
After the assault or after the hearing?
After the assault.
After the assault, I was arrested and
then you came
jail
back
for
to the house.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's what I asked. You were still in the house, but
Yeah.
you're no longer in the house.
No.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished here. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
He's a liar, and I told the truth, and I won the case.
I didn't aggressively attack him.
That was the rules that I had set. My dogs don't even come in the house.
I defended myself and my dog.
Sarah and Judy.
I think there was some genuine confusion on the defendant's behalf about the term fresh.
When I said to him, you were fresh to an older person.
Exactly. You know, he had a little bit of an attitude, a little young gun attitude, and the older woman did not appreciate it. So I am very familiar with the term fresh, but I think he was a little confused, but 100% fits the definition of fresh.
It was interesting. The other thing was I didn't seem appalled at the fact that he was doing time-sensitive video games, because I actually understand that from some of our grandchildren.
They take the games very seriously.
Very seriously.
And I could see how missing out on a time-sensitive game could raise an even heated moment even hotter. So.
Especially someone who needs an emotional support pit bull.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches.
Good morning, Judge. Case number 2011, Rubin versus Rubin.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Rubin, this is your brother.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And this case involves sharing expenses for your mother's funeral.
Correct.
And it is your claim that your brother, who I believe was living with your mother at the time she died,
Right.
agreed to pay half of the funeral expenses when he received proceeds from a small life insurance policy that your mother had left.
Yes, Judge. Our mother only left us a $5,000 life insurance policy.
That's what the case is about.
Right.
Your brother's position is it's not his responsibility. He made no such promise. Of course, you do understand that without that promise to pay for your mother's funeral expenses, children aren't normally responsible for the expenses of their parent. You understand that?
Yes, Judge.
Mr. Rubin, when did your mother pass away?
She passed away August 20th of 2021.
How old was she?
She was 86.
And how long had you been living with your mother?
Your Honor, I took care of my mother since 1991.
Well, if you were taking care of her for almost 30 years, sir, what kind of physical malady did she have when she was in her 50s?
She suffered from chronic kidney failure.
When did that medical condition develop?
Pretty close to 91.
What is pretty close to 91?
Beginning in the 90s, 91, 92, etc.
So when you moved in with her, was your mother sick or was she not sick?
She was sick.
Did you live with your mother because it was not only good for your mother, but because it was good for you? That's what I'm
Correct.
trying to get
Yes.
to. The answer is yes.
Yes,
And you moved into your mother's house
Correct.
that she owned or rented?
She was purchasing it through a mortgage.
She owned her home.
Yes, ma'am.
Was
Correct.
she working in the 90s?
She was.
Therefore, she wasn't incapacitated to the extent that you needed full-time care.
At the beginning, no, ma'am.
When you moved in with her, she was employed on a full-time basis,
Correct.
sufficient enough to get a mortgage from a bank based upon her income.
Correct.
And what were you doing in 1991?
I worked.
For whom?
Associates.
For how long?
Off and on from 91 till about 2 years ago.
What does off and on mean?
I had several jobs in between. I sold cars for various car dealerships, and I also owned several businesses.
When you lived with your mother, who paid the mortgage?
My mother did.
Did you pay your mother for any expenses? Rent, gas, electric, phone, anything? Or did you live there and you had an agreement? You lived there, she wanted your company, whatever it was. She lived alone?
At the time, yes.
In 1991, she was just living alone.
Correct.
And I assume, therefore, happy to have your company.
Correct.
I assume. Okay. So you made no payments to your mother?
With the occasional help with some utilities or food, yes.
Okay. So you were able, I assume, to save a substantial amount of money.
Correct.
Just for my own information, so that I can sort of put this thing together.
Sure.
You have stocks, bonds, savings?
No, ma'am.
What do you have? You were able to save a lot of money. How did you invest it?
I invested in several businesses, which one is my liquidation company.
What happened with your mother's house?
When she passed, I was still residing at the house. I paid the mortgage by myself for the months of September 2021 as well as October 2021. And I remained there until, I want to say, February 2022. My sister is the executor of the estate, and she sold it just recently for $465,000.
Okay. So what I'm gathering from you, you paid the mortgage, you say, in September and October, then you stopped paying the mortgage November, December, January, and February.
That is correct, ma'am.
But you lived in the house?
I did.
Rent-free, because you paid nothing?
Correct.
Where are you living now?
I live in Nogales, Mexico.
And you live in a house, you live in
In an apartment, ma'am.
You pay rent?
I do.
Anybody live with you?
No, ma'am.
What's your rent?
$250.
Okay. And what was the mortgage payment in your mother's house?
I paid $1,750 even.
Are you the sister?
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you stand up for a second? I'm just getting some information. Tell me your name.
Shannon Hayes.
Miss Hayes, house was sold recently for $465,000. And what was left on the mortgage?
$258,000 plus a $35,000 third mortgage.
Your Honor, since
Sarah,
our brother was not paying, since he wasn't paying, the house actually went into foreclosure.
Just a
and so we had to get.
Just a sec, I didn't ask you anything.
Okay, I'll just.
Sarah Rose, 465 less 258,
207,000, Your Honor.
less 35.
172.
Okay, and there are 3 siblings?
And also, Your Honor, there was a $10,000 lien on the property that had to be paid.
So we're down to 162.
Correct.
So it's 162 clear, so a little over $50,000 a person.
She owed the IRS, Your Honor, for back payments in excess of $54,000. She hadn't paid taxes in years.
Did you pay the IRS?
I just did.
And how much did you pay the IRS?
$54,188.
Sarah, from 162, take out 54,000.
$108,000.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. She had Arizona state taxes, $3,000 I paid as well.
105, is that 105 net?
So we also have the medical bills that I had to take care of.
She had no insurance and she had to have Medicare.
She did, Your Honor. That's her copayment.
Okay, and what was her copayment?
$3,000 in medical.
Let's do a simple $100,000. How much were the funeral expenses?
$2,434.73.
Was the total funeral expense?
Yes.
Well, that's what you're claiming he owes you.
That's his share of the...
I want to know what the entire funeral cost, sir. You'll show me the invoice.
Sure. I do have all the invoices for you.
Sean hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
The first one, Your Honor, is just for the cremation
1058.
services. Correct.
Okay, 1058.
The next one should be from the cemetery.
This is the total funeral home charges, and this is cremated remains internment of $2,200.
Correct. The next invoice you should have, Your Honor, is from services provided by a rabbi.
Okay, that was $600.
Your Honor, it was actually $700. I paid the rabbi $100 as an honorarium.
No, that's $600. Whatever you want to pay him as an honorarium, that's fine. So the total expenses are $3,858.
You should have another invoice for a proposal for a headstone as well.
1717.
Yes, Your Honor.
3858 plus $1,717.
$5,575.
That's it. Okay. I assume your mother died without a will.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And you are the only surviving siblings?
Yes, Your Honor.
The estate will be divided into 3 parts.
Correct.
So each one of you will get about $33,000 from the estate after all of the expenses have been paid.
There's also the real estate commission fees that we didn't mention to subtract from the net income.
And what were the real estate commission fees?
$30,000.
Oh, that's a substantial amount.
Yes, Your Honor.
So 108 less 30, $78,000. So now you're down to $25,000 each.
That's correct, Your Honor.
What I'm trying to figure out is, even giving you all those expenses that you paid, your mother's estate, absent this $5,000 life insurance policy that there was, correct? And you got a share of that life insurance policy. How much? Yes, the answer is
ma'am.
yes. How much did you receive?
$2,500 even.
Okay, $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get a share of that life insurance policy?
No, Your Honor.
Did you?
Yes, Your Honor. I also received $2,500.
Great. And the estate had net, after everything, at least $75,000 divided by 3, which is $25,000 apiece after you pay all expenses, which in this case would have been funeral expenses. Do you understand where I'm coming from, sir?
I do.
I have children and grandchildren. 10 years is a long time. That's a grandchild. She didn't see me at least once a month. She better keep her fingers crossed that I don't change my will.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Sean and Randall.
Sean Rubin. He's suing his brother, Randall Rubin, for unpaid funeral expenses. Randall is countersuing, claiming Sean defamed him.
So now, if what you're asking me, Mr. Rubin, is to find that you had an agreement with your brother to pay 1/3 of the funeral expenses because the two of you each paid 1/3 of the funeral expenses. Is that what you did?
Well, Your Honor...
That's either a yes or a no.
It is a no. I'm the only one that had the money to process our mother. He would not even sign to get her processed to continue the cremation. I have evidence here I'd like to submit to you where he agreed to pay me half of it out of his life insurance.
Okay, that's all.
I have text from him.
Just a second. I'm going to take a look at it. You have to understand, Mr. Rubin,
Yes.
that at this point, if I find that he agreed to pay for half, then you understand that you agreed to pay for half of her funeral. Ordinarily, the funeral expenses, you may front the money for those funeral expenses, but if the deceased had sufficient money in their estate to cover their last expenses, and those would be medical expenses, which you paid out of the estate, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Taxes, which you paid out of the estate.
Yes, Your Honor.
You paid out of the estate after you sold the house, broker's fees. State tax fees, along with those kinds of fees, would be funeral expenses. Now, if the two of you agreed, or the two brothers agreed, which is what you're saying, that he agreed to pay half, not a third, but he agreed to pay half of the funeral expenses for which you are not being reimbursed by the estate. Do you understand?
Correct. I have not received anything from the estate, Your Honor.
Okay.
Kevin hands Sean's document to Judy.
Well, this would be you. I'll let you know tomorrow. I think it's $2,200 for Menorah Gardens, and cremation was $1,053, so it's $1,626 each. That would be you, right?
Yes.
Okay, 1,626, because you asked him how much you owed, right?
I did.
So I assume since you asked him how much you owed, you had some sort of an arrangement with him to pay a third, because it does say a third, of the funeral expenses.
That is correct.
Okay, great.
I do want to interject, Your Honor, and let you know that when I did receive my monies, the $2,500 from her life insurance, we had communicated with one another that I had some emergency dental work that needed to be done. It was life-threatening, and therefore he said, I don't have the email because I had to block him. I have a restraining order against him. So I lost all my emails between us.
Listen,
However,
nobody ever has their emails here or a video.
A very substantial amount of those monies went for my dental.
I don't care. How old are you?
59, ma'am.
You have lived rent-free for 30 years. And according to you, you had businesses. You worked most of that time, either selling cars or on and off for a company for 30 years. You made an agreement with your brother to pay 1/3 of your mother's funeral expenses. And as far as I'm concerned, if you had dental problems, pay for it from the resources of one of your businesses, because you had no expenses. You have very little sympathy for you. You lived in the house for months without paying the mortgage. That's outrageous. That's taking money away from them. Do you understand that?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
say you lived in the house for 3 months rent-free, at least 3 months rent-free. So if you paid mortgage payments for 2 months, I would say to you, sounds pretty reasonable to me. You know, there's a story that's created.
Correct.
And what's created here is there's unequivocal information in these text messages that you and your brother and sister, because you, sir, are claiming that he owes half. He doesn't owe half. That was never the agreement, according to what you gave me. According to what you gave me, and in your own hand, you say this is what you owe me, $1,600, not $2,600.
Well, Your Honor, if I can explain, the reason why I said half is only me and my brother were included in life insurance policy. My sister was not named on it, and it was only for $5,000. So,
sir, listen carefully to me.
I mean, if we put our money together, we could have paid for it.
Listen carefully to me. That has nothing to do with you.
Exactly. The same with his dental
proceeds
has
of
nothing
your
to do with
mother's
me.
final resting should have come out of the estate. That way it would have been borne equally between the 3 people who will profit from the estate. You understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Very good. So if you understand that, the math is simple. If he pays a third, you get your sister to kick in whatever she's getting back from the $25,000, and everybody is equal.
Well, Your Honor, I mean, you're already getting the vibe that this guy's the biggest bum who lived off his mother, sponged off of his mother.
Let me explain something to you. That is unnecessary here. Unnecessary, and really quite stupid. Stupid. You handed me evidence, sir, that you made an agreement with him. He asked you what he owed. You told him.
Yes.
$1,600. That's what you told him, that he owes you, $1,600.
That's correct.
And each of you are getting a certain amount of money for nothing from your mother. I'm going to ask you some questions. Prior to her death, when was the last time you saw her? When was the last time you saw your mother? Month and year?
I honestly do not recall, Your Honor, because
Okay,
her
just a
home-
second. Was it in the decade that she died?
Yes.
Okay, well, she died in 2021. So when did you see her?
Probably several years before that, Your Honor.
Well, so you didn't see her in the decade before?
Your Honor, you have to understand, her house was infested with bed bugs.
Pay careful attention to me. I asked you some questions.
Yes.
My question was, when was the last time you saw your mother? So you hadn't seen your mother in a decade. When was the last time you saw your mother?
I saw my mother frequently, Your Honor. It was May, Mother's Day.
Okay, Mother's Day of
2021.
And Your Honor, I did...
Shh, I'm not speaking to you. March of 2021. Prior to that, when did you see your mother?
November 2021.
Wait a minute. How could you see her in November 2021 if she passed in August of 2021?
November 2020.
Okay, May 2021, November of 2020. Prior to that, when did you see your mother?
I saw her frequently because...
No, not frequently. Month and year.
I don't have the...
Did you see her every month?
No, Your Honor.
Did you see her every 2 months?
About that, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, between May and November, that's more than 2 months. That's what you can remember.
Yes, Your Honor.
So it would be fair to say that whether he took great care of her and whether the house was clean or dirty or anything else, your 86-year-old mother lived with your brother, whether you like him or not, and you were totally disinterested in her. You're the one who started this, or I was about ready to finish this case, but when you say he's a bum, I say, you know what? This guy's got to be put in his place. He may have been, but he was the bum who took care of your mother. You started it.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Sean and Randall.
Sean Rubin is accusing his brother, Randall Rubin, of not paying his share of funeral expenses. Randall claims Sean spread multiple lies about him.
So it would be fair to say that whether he took great care of her and whether the house was clean or dirty or anything else, your 86-year-old mother lived with your brother, whether you like him or not, and you were totally disinterested in her.
Well, that's not true, Your Honor.
Well, I want to know if you didn't see your mother in a decade, and she had failing health, I would say, as a child, you were totally disinterested in her.
I did visit my mother after she had kidney replacement or kidney surgery. I visited her after her surgery. We both did.
Just a second. Do you understand where I'm coming from, sir?
I do.
I have children and grandchildren, right?
Sure.
10 years is a long time. That's a grandchild. If she didn't see me at least once a month, she better keep her fingers crossed that I don't change my will.
Well, Your Honor, I'm sure that Sarah is very close to you, where we live out of state.
Just a second.
We both have actual real jobs.
Just a second. If her father didn't visit me at least once a month, and we live in different states, he too would check the will. So what I'm telling you is, if you don't see your mother for 10 years, you are a disinterested child. You're the one who started this, or I was about ready to finish this case, but when you say he's a bum, I say, you know what? This guy's got to be put in his place. He may have been, but he was the bum who took care of your mother.
No,
No.
absolutely not.
Oh, really? Did your mother have full-time nursing care for the last 10 years? The answer is either yes or no.
It's an absolute
She
no.
declined.
That's not what I asked you. Not what she declined. Did she have full-time nursing care? That's a yes or a no?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Okay, so if she didn't have full-time nursing care and she was in poor health because, based upon your blurted-out answer to me, you thought she should have full-time care.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, but she didn't. So he took care of her. You don't like the way he took care of her. That's your prerogative, but you let him take care of her. And you went about your business in your own states where you live, and he took care of her. And you didn't like him, and he may have been a sponge and a bum. You started it. But you were not interested enough in your mother to move next door to her or to have her move next door to you when she got sick.
Your Honor.
Somebody else
I actually did ask her to move in with me, and she declined.
Right. She didn't want to live with you. There had to be a reason for that if she was being abused. Do you
Your Honor,
understand?
there is.
Unless, do I look like I need help from you?
No, of course not.
Then I want you to be quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
You owe him $1,600. That's it, not 26. What he's asking you.
counterclaim.
Put it down.
I have a counterclaim.
$1,600, and I'll hear your counterclaim.
Thank you, Your
Which
Honor.
sounds a little ridiculous to me. I'm finished with you. $1,600, that's what you owe, except for the counterclaim, which I'll hear. Well, the counterclaim is that they posted something on the internet that says that there were bugs in the shoes you were selling. If that's, just a second, quiet. Your counterclaim says that he defamed you and your business because he wrote on the internet that there were bugs in the shoes you were selling. I couldn't make that up. Let me see. Maybe I did
You're
make it
correct.
up.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what
he
he
posted that
wrote.
there were bugs in the shoes I was selling.
He also put that I impregnate Hispanic women.
Oh, just a second. First of all, that's not in here.
It's right here, ma'am.
It's not in my answer. So I want to see where he wrote, and who knows what you're doing in Mexico. I have no idea what you're doing in Mexico. Show me what he wrote about the bugs in the shoes that you're selling, giving me a whole lot of nonsense there that I'm not going to read.
It's not.
You give me-
These are the posts that he put online.
I
These
only
are
want
also-
to
These are also letters from my mother in her own.
I'm not reading the letters from your mother.
Okay.
I'm reading a post or more where he says there are bugs in the shoes you are selling.
Yes.
Period.
Do you want to hear the audio that he sent to one of my employers?
No, I want to see where he wrote there are bugs in the shoes you are selling, which is what's in my answer.
Right here, ma'am.
May I have it, please?
And I do have a restraining order on him as well.
I'm not interested in your
Okay.
restraining order.
Judy reviews the document.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with anything. I'm going to give this back to you, and if you don't hand me exactly what I asked for, I'm
It's in the-
dismissing.
it's
I'm
in-
not reading all that drivel. I asked you for one post.
Your Honor, if you'd like to say
I don't
something-
want to hear you.
This is what I wrote.
I
if you want
don't
to see it.
want. This is not your case to prove, sir.
Okay. I'm just trying to be honest.
Here you go, Your Honor. This is one that he
Thank you.
wrote
Don't
to
tell
my
me one.
employer.
Just give me the posts about shoes. This has nothing to do with
It's
shoes.
This one is in
Well,
Spanish.
if you show me one more thing that doesn't say bugs and shoes, I'm just dismissing your case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Please look at this one. It is in Spanish.
No, that's your problem. The counterclaim's dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very pleased with the judge's decision. I think she made the right decision.
I wasn't really thrilled.
I'm just kind of glad it's over. I never want to see my brother again.
We're a very estranged bunch of people. We do not like each other.
She didn't raise him right. She raised us right, and we're going to do the right thing on behalf of our mom.
Sarah and Judy.
First and foremost, I will visit you every month, every week, every day, if that's what it takes. But in all seriousness, this case shows how foolish it is not to memorialize your wishes for the end, because it creates a heightened sense of stress at a time when emotions are already running high. And first rule of wills, trusts, and estates class is always have a will. So it doesn't matter how much you have, how little you have. It's important, your wishes, and to prevent situations like this, your loved ones having to go through.
And be angry with each other. I mean, they don't love each other anyway, but to be angry with each other, if you can avoid that. Even young people, Sarah, who have put anything together.
Yeah.
You have a will?
I do.
There you go.
I wouldn't want my loved ones going through that. So yeah, you have to take the time and write it down. And yeah, that's really all you can do to avoid the situation.
You're right.
Title: Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
Arise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2044, Bearden versus Thompson.
Mr. Bearden.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you the balance of a dog that you sold to him.
Correct, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Defendant says he doesn't really think he got what he bargained for, and while he has no intention of returning the dog to you, he doesn't want to pay the balance.
Yes.
Be a yes. So I have a couple of questions, because it's not a terribly difficult case. You say in your complaint that you are a breeder of full-blood tricolor bullies.
Correct. Bully breed, American bullies, and these are tricolor American bullies, which have 5 different distinctions within the American bully breed realm.
I don't want you to try to confuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more than I'm confused about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is an American bully a pit bull?
No, I have proof.
Shh. It is not.
It is not.
What is it a combination of?
Yes, it is a combination of.
Well, I know it's a combination of, but it's been recognized by the American Kennel Club as an independent breed of dog. But that is only recently. What is the American Bully a combination of?
Honestly, can I read what I have?
No, if you say I don't, listen to me.
Yeah,
I know it's very, very
don't know.
hard for men to say 3 words. I don't know. Somehow they can say, I love you, I hate you, get out of my parking space, you're snoring. They can say a whole bunch of things, but they have trouble saying those 3 words.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know.
I fully own that. Yes, ma'am.
I
don't know.
Don't know. Well, Sarah, look it up.
Will do.
American Bully.
Says that originally standardized and recognized as a breed in 2004 by the American Bully Kennel Club.
2004. Mm-hmm. So if it's recognized a breed in 2004, it's got to be a mix of something.
So the American Bully was started by crossing the American Pit Bull Terrier with other dogs in the Bully breed family, and sometimes dogs outside of the Bully breed family. But it's become its own breed.
It's become its own breed, but started with the American Pit Bull. That's what that says. Do you want her to read it again?
So there's also Bully dogs are descendants from the crosses between ancient bulldogs and a variety of British terriers. And this says an American Bully was started by the crossing of the American Pit Bull Terrier with dogs in the other Bully breed family.
And ultimately, it was recognized as a breed unto itself, although I don't understand how that could happen. If you're a cross between one breed, the American Pit Bull, and a variety of other dogs, you know, that's like a golden doodle. That's like a golden retriever and a poodle. Isn't that what a golden doodle is?
I believe so.
But it's not a breed unto itself. It's a cross between a couple of dogs, so it takes many years. And this sounds to me, at least, Mr. Bearden, as the bullies that you're describing that you breed, the genesis of that breed is an American Pit Bull with a variety of other things. Could be a boxer.
It could also, like the father, it could be a Rottweiler. Like the father of the puppies that he got, he has all the markings of a Rottweiler, but he has the head shape and body style that represents more of the Pit Bull style.
So that's information that I am now at least a little armed with. So now I'm going to come back to you. You're the breeder. And you said the puppies, that the litter that you sold to Tim, one of the puppies, has Rottweiler in it.
No, I'm not saying that it has Rottweiler. I'm saying that the physical representation of it, the markings, the brown over the eyes, the brown hair, that's what the dad looks like. The puppies don't look like that.
Just a second. So you bred the dogs. What breed is the father?
The father is American Bully. He's considered an XL American Bully.
The father is an American Bully. In the father's history, it appears, based upon the look of the dog, is this what I'm understanding?
Yes.
It's a Rottweiler. In the history of the dog.
Yeah, it could possibly, yes. That's why he looks like that now, yes.
It could possibly be a gerbil, but a gerbil doesn't have distinctive markings. What you're telling me is the dog has the distinctive markings of a Rottweiler, but the body of a Pit Bull.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, what a combo.
He's beautiful. He's a beautiful dog.
They're beautiful dogs. Both of those dogs, by the way, will not be covered by most insurance policies. Pit Bulls and Rottweilers. You do know that?
Yes.
Say yes loud.
Yes,
so
yes, I know that, yes.
Okay. Did you know that?
I did not.
Well, it's interesting. Do you own your own home?
Yeah.
Yes is an answer.
Yes.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
Yes.
In your application for homeowners insurance, they would ask you what kind of dog you have, if you have any. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you write down what kind of a dog you had?
I didn't have a dog at the time.
I want you to read over your homeowner's policy, wherever you live. Who are you covered by?
Not exactly sure.
What do you mean not certain? You don't know who your homeowner's policy is with?
It's all in the bill.
What
It's all paid for, one yearly fee.
You mean for your car, for your home,
Yes.
everything else? I would check, sir. If you own your own home, did you have a lot invested in your home?
Yes.
I would take a look, because many insurance companies now will not insure or charge an extra premium, if they would insure, homes that have, as part of their household, certain breeds of dogs. I am telling you, and he knows it, that Pit Bulls and Rottweilers are in that group.
Yep.
So if something happens and your dog bites somebody and they will sue you, and you'll say, well, I have homeowners insurance, your policy might just disclaim.
That's why I didn't want a pit bull.
What do you think you got?
A pit bull.
You got an American bully, and it's not so hard to look up. You do have a tablet or something?
A bully, when you look it up, it actually is American Bulldog and a Stanford Terrier. It's
Well,
not,
an American Bulldog and a Staffordshire Terrier. You know what Staffordshire Terrier is.
yeah.
What is it?
I mean, it's pit bull.
Right, that's what it is. Everybody tries to use different language because they want to get away from that. It's a bully, it's a terrier, it's a something else. But bottom line, that's what it is. And you know that's what it is, whether it's a half or a quarter. You know it's listed among those breeds that the insurance company is not going to cover you for. And you have knowledge of that. You got to be careful. So it was your understanding that you were purchasing from the plaintiff a what?
A full 100% bully.
There's no 100% bully. There is no 100% bully. You just told me a bully is a mix between a...
After so long, it's considered a full bully. That's from my understanding.
That's not what that says. It says, among other things. You really have to be more vigilant. Don't tell me what your friends told you. Don't tell me what they did. Don't tell me what they said. He told you that he was selling you an American bully.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kenneth and Zach.
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden claims his customer, Zach Thompson, owes for the balance of a puppy. Zach says he did not receive the full-blooded American bully he purchased.
Okay, tell me when and under what circumstances Mr. Thompson purchased this puppy from you.
Yes, Your Honor. On April 28th, the defendant reached out to me. He was stating his name. Sorry. He was stated his name and that his daughter was playing with the puppy of a friend of his, and that friend of his had bought one of the puppies from my litter. She fell in love with the dog. She loved it. He wanted to come by and possibly get another puppy.
How old's your daughter?
7.
If I could do that thing that some people do and, cross their eyes on purpose, I would do that for you. Now, is this your only child?
Yes.
Okay.
After he reached out to me, we exchanged numbers and spoke for a few days over Facebook Messenger. I gave him my number. We had a conversation on the phone about prices, about the breed, and payments, because he reached out to me originally stating that, hey, I don't have that full amount that you would be asking for.
Just a second, could I see text messages where you've discussed the price?
Yes, ma'am.
And where you agreed on a price?
No, that was, so we agreed on a price verbally. The text messages is where I sent him my number. Right after I sent him my number, that's when we had the conversation about prices and payments.
Let me see what you...
Yes, ma'am. Do you want text messages and the Facebook messages?
Yeah.
Okay. It's
read any...
quite a bit. It's all in order from front to back. From
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just about the price of the dog, please.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, the price of the dog was a verbal conversation.
I understand that. The initial discussion that you had with him, you told him what you wanted for the dog.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Kenneth hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Mrs. Thompson, and you wrote, I told him I would even take the runt if you're willing to help me get a puppy for my daughter, right? Okay. How old was the puppy when the puppy was delivered to Mr. Thompson?
They were right at 2 months and 2 weeks, I believe.
So about 10 weeks old?
Yeah, they were born February 20th. This was May 1st when they were...
Do you have a contract with him other than over the phone?
When he came there that morning...
That's either a yes or a no.
No.
You do not have a written contract.
The only contract that we have is of him giving me his ID, letting me take a picture of it because I didn't have any print or ink at the time.
You don't have a contract with him?
No.
Are you a married guy?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah. You know, how did I know that? Because you talk a lot. Most married guys don't talk so much. They answer 2 or 3 words, and that's it. Do you live alone?
Yes, it's just me and my son.
How old is your son?
He's 12.
And how many of these dogs do you have roaming around?
I have 2.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, the plaintiff delivered the dog to you. You had no written contract with him. You just agreed to take the dog at a certain price, correct?
Correct.
He agreed to sell you the dog, and you discussed he got this much with papers, this much without, but he was willing to work with you without papers, correct?
Yes, correct.
So you were getting a dog without AKC papers for how much?
$500.
$500.
$100 down.
Just a sec. What?
$100 down and then $100 every 2 weeks until it's paid off.
So you gave him the $100?
Yes.
And then you never paid him any more?
Well, before the next payment was even there, I questioned him about being a full bully, because everybody kept telling me it wasn't a full bully because I have multiple friends that...
Don't tell me what your friends told you. Don't tell me what they did. Don't tell me what they said. He told you that he was selling you an American bully.
Yep.
Without papers.
Yes.
So that you weren't going to use this dog for any breeding purposes.
Yes, didn't plan to.
Because you don't have papers, and that would be sort of foolish for you.
Yeah.
Did your daughter fall in love with the dog? Got the dog that she wanted, right?
Yeah, she
a little
picked it
female
out.
called
Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah, she picked her out.
Your Honor,
And she just
I disagree with that also.
What?
When he originally arrived that morning, he was trying to get a different dog. He wanted a certain one.
Just a second. Your daughter picked this dog out.
Yep.
Correct.
You disagree with that?
The daughter and him both wanted a different dog at first.
We had our mind set on a certain puppy before we got there. When we showed up, the puppy that we wanted was getting taken by another people that she...
So your daughter picked another puppy?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Let's not make this harder than it is. She picked the one that she was happy with.
Yeah.
And she's still happy with it.
Yep.
And she likes it.
Yes.
You wouldn't take it away from her.
No, I would not.
You wouldn't give it back to him.
No, I would not.
Then you have to pay for it.
Well, I would have.
What is so hard about that?
Well, he lied about the shots. He never sent me proof of the first
Just a
shots.
second. You have a contract. That's if you're going to pay. He says $750. You say $500. Whether it's $750 or $500, what you're supposed to have if you're a breeder is a written contract. If that's what you do, you have a written contract. I always have a contract when I buy puppies. The breeders, reputable breeders, demand it. They say that they guarantee the health of the puppy for a certain period of time. You can take the dog to have it checked by a vet within a certain period of time. It says whether the puppy had its first shots or second shots or had no shots. It says all that. That's it. Other than that, I don't remember what these contracts said, but I bought many, and they are pretty much standard. Yeah. You bought a dog for either $750 or $500 that you didn't pay for, and now you have a bunch of excuses. Did you take the dog to a vet and have the dog tested as to its heritage?
I have not.
Well, then you can't tell me what your friend said to you. Whether your friend said that looks like, it doesn't look like, I don't know what it looks like. That's not relevant. If he's saying to you, this is an American bully, and you've had the dog professionally tested, the DNA of that dog tested, and it turns out that it's a cacophony of things, which clearly it is because it's a mix of things. What do you have to pay for the dog? You ate the steak. You don't want to give it back. The only question is, how much did you make an arrangement to pay? You say it was $750.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is you have any paperwork to show that?
I do not, Your Honor. Like I said, when he left, I have them contracts. I didn't have any more printer ink. He had to leave and be somewhere else. That's when I asked to go ahead and take a picture of his ID, and I plan to get the contract at a later date.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Was he originally asking for $1,000 for the dog?
He never originally asked me for $1,000.
No, but is that what your friend paid for his dog?
I don't know what my friend paid for the dog, but I know that he was having trouble selling him, so he marked down the price. I have a Facebook post where he actually, on his own Facebook, before I'd even...
Oh, do you have what...
I don't have it printed out. I have it on my phone. I'm willing to
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see it. Does it list a price on it?
Don't have a price. It just talks about where he's willing to sell them and work with people on deals and stuff, because he couldn't sell them this before I even met the guy.
Okay, well, so do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies? You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog. Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kenneth and Zach.
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden is accusing his customer, Zach Thompson, of refusing to pay the balance on an American bully puppy. Zach says he didn't receive the purebred he was promised and tried to return the dog.
Do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see you.
Make it a little brighter.
Because you say here that you usually sell them $2,000 with papers and $1,000 without.
Yes.
Okay.
And my
Just a second.
Facebook...
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
5 pups left and needing good homes. These are full-blooded American tricolor bullies. Please help us find them homes. I'm willing to negotiate and rediscuss price payment at any point. Okay, so you're willing to work with anybody?
Exactly.
Okay, so when you had a conversation with him, tell me what price you arrived at.
We arrived at $750. And when we spoke, he told me that he would give me $100 every week. And also in our text messages, it also states where he mentioned if his taxes came, he would pay me in full.
Okay, but you talked about pay $100 every week.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
In my messages, there's a few times where I reference $500, and he never says, well, it's $750, not $500.
Okay, can I see those?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them.
In that message...
No, don't.
And we also talked...
Shh. Just give me the message.
Okay. Here's the one that states 500 right here.
Zach hands the document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
Yeah, I believe that the price you negotiated was $500 because the only one of the litigants that has any messages, that has any number in it, is the defendant, who talks, at least on 2 occasions, of the fact that he doesn't want to pay $500 for a mixed breed dog. And there's nothing in it that says, sir, it wasn't $500, it was $750. You gave me $100, so you still owe me $650. That's what the response should have been, and you didn't do that, sir. So
I would have had no problem paying him the $500 if it was a full bully. No problem at all.
You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog.
Okay.
Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
Well,
and you want to keep the dog.
No, I wanted to bring the dog back. He said I could bring the dog back, and then he wrote back and said, okay, I could bring it back.
I just asked you a question. You want me to have her read it back to me? You just said...
I don't want to bring the dog back now.
Well, now is what we're talking about. Now is where we are.
It's 4 or 5 months now my daughter has fell in love, but the first 10 days, I did ask to bring it back. He said, okay.
Right now, we're not in the first 10 days. Right now, we're here. I asked you a question. Do you want to give him the dog back?
If that's what it takes, yes.
You ready to take the dog back?
I do not want. Once we sold the animal,
Well, if he says that there is no proof that this litter was a full-blooded American bully, and you have the American Kennel Club records that show that it is, because you must have registered the litter. That's what happens, Mr. Bearden, when you have a full-blooded dog. You register the litter, and then if you're selling it with papers, the new owner will register the dog with the AKC in their name. So all you have to do now is show me the registration for that litter. No, that's either a show me or I don't have it.
I do not have that, Your Honor. Because there was no reason. That's why the puppies were $2,000 with papers and $1,000 without. There's no reason going the extra mile. That's why they have the $2,000 option of me taking that headache off their shoulder.
No. That's a lot of who shot John, sir. If you are a breeder, that's what you identify yourself as. I am a breeder of.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? And clearly you are a breeder of because he saw puppies from another litter of yours, which drove him and his daughter to contact you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you're a breeder, you register that litter so that if you want to sell it, a puppy with papers, you've already registered that litter. Either you can use it or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? You would know exactly what I'm saying.
That's the normal process of things,
okay.
Yes.
And right now, Mr. Thompson, at this point, I agree that you agreed to pay $500 for the dog and gave him a $100 deposit.
Yes.
Which means you owe him $400.
He said I could bring the dog back at one point because I wanted to bring the dog back because I didn't think it was the dog I wanted.
I'm talking about now.
Yes, I know, but then
he said no.
And then he said no 2 days later, and then he said he's going to take me to court, or he threatened me and said he's going to have someone come get the money out of me if not. And then that's when I stopped responding. After he threatened me, I stopped responding. And that was before our first initial payment. That was within the first 10 days, and it wasn't even in the 14 days yet when I was going to get my payment.
Did you pay him?
No, I didn't.
$100?
I paid him $100, yes.
Yes, I'm talking about $100.
Yes, I did.
So what do you want me to do today? Either...
I don't think he deserves nothing. He lied about the breed. He never sent me shots.
No.
He lied about those.
Yeah, just a second.
And then he threatened me.
Do you want to return the dog to him, or do you want to pay him the $400?
I'll return the dog to him.
Fine. He's returning the dog to you.
And
You understand?
I paid all the vet bills.
Just a second.
Vet bills.
I don't care, but I will prepare an order that within 5 days of today, you will deliver the dog back. He delivered the dog to you?
No, I went to his house, picked it up.
You went to his house? Great. How far do you live from each other?
30 minutes, probably.
Is there a police precinct in the middle? Because I don't want this done at anybody's house. What police precinct is closest to you, sir?
Be Bullitt County Police Department.
That's where you will meet 5 days from today. What's a good time for you?
4 p.m., 5 p.m.
What's a good time for you?
Whenever.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. We'll prepare an order, give it to you. You meet at the precinct and exchange the dog.
Will he pay me from what I've gave him?
He'll give you back the $100.
What about all the vet bills?
That you eat.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the order. That's what he wants.
Sounds good.
Let him go explain it to his daughter. Perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
Let him win.
This court is adjourned.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do moving forward.
I didn't feel like I got the dog that I wanted.
I never made a threat to him, never did anything like that. I told him that I would take him to court.
It was definitely a better dog out there.
I'm an honest, hardworking man, and I deserve what he's supposed to pay to me.
Sarah and Judy.
So I was so confused because as I'm looking for where it comes from, because I know it's not a purebred, it said the American Bully is a great family dog because although bred from pit bulls, which sometimes have an aggressive tendency, the aggressive tendencies of American Bullies have been bred out. And I was a little bit confused how you could breed out the aggression.
I don't know. I hate to be that guy going home today to explain to his 7-year-old that she's losing her puppy.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't have to go home to that.
Title, Judy Justice.
Have you been cheated? Go to judyjustice.tv. 15-year-old son, Christopher Espinoza, for damages resulting from a car crash.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2054, Cardozo versus Jimenez Espinoza.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cardozo, it is your claim that the defendants are responsible for an automobile accident.
Yes.
That both totaled your car and injured you and your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did this accident happen? What date?
On May 6th, Friday, 2022.
What time of the day?
It was around 7:10, 7:20 a.m.
Where were you going?
I was going to drop off my son to his babysitter.
Then where were you going?
At work.
Is that your regular route?
Yeah.
Your last name is?
Espinoza.
How old are you?
17.
You were driving that morning?
Yeah.
Yeah is not an answer.
Yes.
Yes is an answer. Who was in the car with you?
My little sister.
How old is she?
11.
Do you have a driver's license?
Now I do, yeah.
Did you, on May 6th, have a driver's license?
No.
I assume you were taking your sister to school,
Yes.
and then you were taking yourself to school.
Yes.
This was in May. How long had you been driving your sister to school?
6 months.
Where was your mother?
At work.
Did you drop her off at work first?
No.
How does she get to work?
Her own car.
Who owns the car that you were driving?
My mom.
So your mom has 2 cars.
Yes.
What other adults live in your house?
Just my mom.
Your mother,
Yes.
your sister,
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
When was the car purchased that you were driving with your sister?
It was a gift.
Who was it a gift to?
Me.
Whose name is it in?
My mom's.
When did you get it? Month and year. Don't speak to him. When did you get it?
January.
January of 2022.
Yes.
So that's why you had been driving your sister for 6 months.
Yes.
The car is in your name?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know that he has no right to drive a car.
He had a driver's permit.
I don't care if he had a permit. You know he has no right to drive a car with a minor in the car.
Well, he took some classes, and we were told by the instructor.
Now, don't tell me what you were told by the instructor, madam. Your insurance company disclaimed on this if you had insurance because he's not allowed to drive a car. Is that correct?
Yes.
What insurance carrier do you have on your car?
AAA.
Who insures the car that he was driving?
AAA.
On your name?
Yes.
When he had this accident, the insurance company, AAA, disclaimed on the accident because he was driving the car.
Yes.
Did they drop you from your policy? Did they drop your policy?
No.
Did they raise your rates?
No, because I was changing insurance at that time when the accident happened.
So you had no insurance?
We had insurance.
Just look at me. On the 6th of May, do you have proof that there was insurance on the car that he was driving?
Yes, Your Honor.
What carrier?
AAA.
And when did you change carriers?
It was May 5th, but it wasn't going to be affected until the following week.
So you had no insurance?
I hadn't called AAA to let them know that I was changing insurance at that time.
Again, I don't believe.
I was changing.
Just a second. You have to understand, madam, that to make your life more comfortable so that you could go to work and your little girl could get to school, you let an unlicensed driver drive a car. You have to understand that, because he could have killed her and the child. It's outrageous that you let your 17-year-old, who didn't have a license, drive your 11-year-old daughter, put them in a place where they were in harm's way. You're just very lucky that both of them weren't hurt. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If you think I'm being harsh, sir, I watched you when you walked in. You thought this whole thing was a joke. You came in smiling. It's not a smiling thing. You did the wrong thing, and if you start doing the wrong thing when you're 17 years old, when you're 27 years old, your mother will come visit you someplace where you don't want to be. Do you understand?
I smile when I'm nervous.
Excuse me?
I smile when I'm nervous.
You smile when you're nervous. Yeah. Well, your mother smiles when she's nervous, too, because she was smiling, too.
Yeah.
When you walked in here. What, you're not smiling now. You mean you're not nervous now? You're not smiling now. Now you're not nervous. Now I would be nervous. If I were you, I would be nervous. See what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Tell me what happened 7:30 in the morning on the 6th of May, which was a school day and a work day.
Okay, yes, Your Honor. So I was driving straight like normal on East on Pleasant Valley. And as I was going on a green light into my intersection.
Do you have a photograph? Do you have any?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
And May 6th was a Friday, just so you know. May 6th was a Friday.
Yeah. Thanks.
Paulina hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She examines images of a child's bruised shoulder and contused arm, then of a damaged red car.
Your car is the red car?
Yes, Your Honor.
This doesn't tell me anything, actually. It just shows your car totally destroyed. Do you have a police report?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see a police report.
Yeah, and I'll put it so she can kind of see my car, his car.
Paulina hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
This is the diagram that the police prepared.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were going straight?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he was making a left turn?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were through the intersection?
Yes.
Looks as if you were through the intersection.
About to be. It was like in the middle of the intersection.
What kind of citations were you issued, sir?
Just without a license.
What?
Without a license.
Okay. I'm just letting you know, Ms. Jimenez, the plaintiff had visible injuries that the police noted. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The airbags went off?
All of them, Your Honor.
Other than the marks that you had on you as a result of the seatbelts and the airbags going off, did you have any other injuries?
So that was actually my son.
That was your son?
Yeah, that was my son because of the seatbelts. Mine were both of my arms because when the airbags deployed, it crushed all my side. So both my arms were bleeding.
You were making a left turn?
Yeah.
She was going straight?
Yes.
You had a green light, but she was going straight and she had a green light. Do you understand?
Yeah.
That means you can't left turn. If she's going straight, that means she's got a green light. That's what it was. And you have to wait until she goes before you make a left turn.
Yeah.
Judy mocks Christopher's nod. He grins. Caption coming up.
Were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
And later today.
You have no proof here of anything. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
I want your $10,000.
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Paulina, Norma, and Christopher.
Paulina Cardozo claims Norma Jimenez and her 17-year-old son, Christopher Espinoza, owe for damages resulting from a car crash.
Okay. Now, when you got there, you started to yell at her. You want to tell me why? You want to tell me why you were yelling at her?
I didn't even yell at her. I got to the place, and then there was somebody waiting for me and told me that she had just hit them, like the person that there was a witness.
You can't tell me. Yeah.
There was somebody
he hit her.
Well, there was somebody that saw the accident, but that person unfortunately couldn't be here.
Okay.
But
I'm asking you why you were yelling at her. Did you have a conversation with her?
I never had a conversation with her. I just asked her, are you okay? And then she said, they're taking my son to the hospital. That's all she said. And when I got there, the firefighter told me.
No, don't tell me what anybody told you, madam. Don't tell me what anybody told you. You called your mother?
Yes.
You used your cell phone.
No.
How did you call her?
My sister.
You used your sister's.
Yes.
And she came right over.
Yes.
Miss Cardoza was there when your mother got there.
Yes.
You want to answer me? Did your mother and Miss Cardoza, were they at the scene at the same time at any time?
No.
Before she was taken to the hospital?
No.
When your mother says that she asked Miss Cardoza, are you okay? That wasn't true.
No.
Was it true or it wasn't true?
It was true.
It was true, so that well, how did she communicate with Miss Cardoza if she didn't ask her, if she wasn't there? I'm going to ask you again. Was your mother at the scene when Miss Cardoza was also at the scene?
Yes.
And did you tell your mother that the accident was Miss Cardoza's fault?
No.
What did you tell your mother?
That we got in a car accident.
She didn't ask you what happened? Come on.
Yes.
Come on. Your mother asked you what happened.
Yeah.
And what did you tell her?
What happened?
Well, let me hear what you told your mother happened.
I was going in Pleasant Valley Road. I put my left turn signal to go to the left turn lane.
You were in the left turn lane?
Yes.
And?
I waited to turn and turn.
And?
I was there and she swerved in and hit me.
She what?
She swerved in and hit me.
She swerved and hit you while you were making a left turn. She swerved into you. That's what you told your mother?
Yes.
Yeah. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Paulina, then Norma.
I feel like she was very fair.
To my understanding, what they have told me is like he was allowed to drive.
It's been a hardship for us.
And that's why I let him drive.
I was scared. I didn't know if he had broken something or something worse.
I only asked her, are you guys okay? Like, what happened? Somebody told me that it was you that hit them.
Till this day, it's haunting. My son doesn't like to get in the car anymore, so it's straining.
He wasn't even cited for the accident. He was cited for not having a license.
I think she thought it was my fault, and I feel like she still thinks it's my fault, but it was not my fault.
She was the one that hit him.
You need to have insurance, and you need to know how to drive.
I'm glad it's over.
Judy and Sarah.
This is a public service announcement to the governor of the state of California. Do everybody a favor. Propose legislation that mandates that if you drive without a license as an underage driver and you're caught and or have an accident, you are ineligible to get a driver's license until you're 25 years old. That would probably be a deterrent for some people. Something is wrong with the system. Those are my words for the day.
Case number 2061, Laura versus Burke. All parties, please step forward.
Michael Lara is suing car seller Donald Burke for a vintage car title.
Mr. Lara.
Yes, Your Honor.
You had a truck.
Yes.
And that truck was a 2007.
Yes, Your Honor.
Nissan Frontier.
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in 2019.
From whom?
From a private owner. I don't have his name, but I purchased it over on an auto app.
So you found it online?
Yeah.
So it's still online. How much did you pay for the car in 2019?
In 2010, I paid $10,000.
I don't believe that. Let's try it one more time, Mr. Lara. Exactly how much did you pay for the car in 2019?
$10,000, Your Honor.
Show me a bill of sale.
I don't have that bill of sale from back then.
Okay.
I have only the title that I had.
Okay. Let's assume for the moment that that's almost accurate because the truck is now worth
somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000.
So that would be a depreciation. So now it's worth $8,000.
Okay.
You decided to sell it.
Correct. To trade it.
And you put an ad online to sell it?
Yes, I did.
You, Mr. Burke, had a 1947 classic Chrysler sedan.
Yes.
When did you get that?
Beginning of the year.
Beginning of
22.
And where did you get it from?
A car dealer had it for sale.
Car dealer where?
Montclair, California.
You remember the name of the car dealer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
But it was the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
And was it an ad online?
No, I was driving by and saw the car. I kind of liked the way it looked.
How much did you pay for it?
$12,500.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No.
That was just this year. Why don't you have a bill of sale?
I have the registration and title.
I don't need the registration and title. I need a bill of sale.
I don't have one.
Difference when you buy it from a private party, but if you buy, do you have, it was the beginning of January, how did you pay for the car?
Cash.
Cash. Do you have a withdrawal from your bank of $12,500 to show me?
No, I don't.
Well, how do you expect me to decide this case? You have a claim, you have a counterclaim. Nobody has any proof. How do you expect me to decide? Each of you is suing the other for $10,000 without any proof of anything. How do you expect me to decide that?
Correct, Your Honor.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Caption coming up.
You have the title. You have the keys. You have the truck. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't.
Judy shrugs. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Michael and Donald.
Michael Lara claims car seller Donald Burke owes him the title to a vintage car. Donald is countersuing, claiming Michael broke their agreement.
Okay. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a 2001 GMC truck.
No. You have his car?
Oh, yes, I have his car, yes.
You
Your Honor.
have his car?
Yes.
And you have his truck?
Yes.
Judy shrugs.
What do you want me to do?
I wasn't the one that started this.
Okay, Your Honor.
He doesn't have the title.
Well, he never produced the money that he was supposed to produce.
I have his title to his vehicle. He signed it over to me, and he gave me the keys as well.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything. Well, I want you have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck.
Correct, Your Honor.
My question to you is, you have the title to his car. He paid, let's assume he's correct, that he paid $12,500 for the car in the beginning of 2022. That car, which is a classic car, is now for sale, because I looked it up, I don't remember the numbers, for?
Between $18,000 and $60,000 on the high end of what I've seen.
Okay, so it's worth considerably more than what you paid for it. Roughly $10,000 more than what you paid for it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't know him, do you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
There would be no reason why he would make you a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have the title for that car.
Yes.
Because you say, according to you, that he didn't fulfill his promise.
Correct.
His contract to pay you an additional amount for it. Now, you say he agreed to pay you an additional $10,000 for it.
Yes.
I don't know that because none of it's in writing. Anybody have any proof of that?
No, Your Honor.
No. Yeah, good. And you want your car back.
I would just...
You want your car. Well, I'm not giving you $10,000. I want you to just understand that.
Yes.
Because you have no proof here of anything that satisfies me. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
What's your $10,000?
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
You'd rather than have your car back. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You have the car.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you put in some money in the truck.
Yes, the catalytic converters were bad.
How much money did you put into the truck?
$2,165.
Okay. And you have proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Donald's witness raises her hand.
Can I help him?
I don't need you for anything.
Here.
A document.
And it still needs another $2,165 for the other side.
And you have the title to the car, is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you want nothing or do you want your truck back, even though he added money to it? Do you want nothing or do you want your truck back? That's my question to you. You want nothing or you want your truck back?
My truck.
Great. And you want your car back?
Yes.
Perfect. And both of you have agreed, because there was clearly some misunderstanding between the two of you, giving you the total benefit of the doubt, sir, that there was additional money to be forthcoming. I'm speaking. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't. I put
very
$2,000 into his truck.
Very easy. Very easy, sir. You're getting back a car that you say is worth, she says, is worth $20,000.
Your Honor. Sorry.
It's not going to work for you. You're going to each end up with your own cars back. Since there was clearly a misunderstanding about the nature of the contract, what I'm telling you is I'm going to prepare an order that within 5 days of today's date, you are to exchange cars. Figure out where you want to do that, a mutually convenient place. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
Not even the $2,000 I put into his truck?
Goodbye.
This way, sir.
You can sell your 47 for a lot more money.
Outside the courtroom, Donald, then Michael.
I didn't bring us here. He brought us here.
I liked his car. He liked my truck. When I got there, we did the exchange. He signed the titles. He gave me the keys to the vehicle.
Well, he gave me a truck that needed a $4,000 repair, and he didn't mention that when he gave it to me. And my car, was nothing wrong with my car.
I have always maintained my vehicle. I have records of it and everything.
I'll just keep my car.
No more business deals.
Sarah and Judy.
So I really agree with you that there was no meeting of the minds because the defendant thought that the plaintiff was going to pay him an additional $10,000 for the 1947 Chrysler, and no one had any proof of anything. So it's really hard to come to court with zero proof on either side. So I think your ruling to leave them how they were found prior to any what they believed to be a contract was the right decision because...
I'm so glad you felt that way.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself, looking over the papers, what's she going to do with this one? You know, it's hard because with no proof and a he said, she said verbal agreements with tangible items like vehicles, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't know what to make of this. I have nothing to look at, nothing to rely on.
And it was so interesting because they both bought these cars recently.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them had bill of sale, said he paid cash, $12,500, showed me where you withdrew the money from a bank. Mm-hmm. The whole thing was suspicious to me. So to me, the easiest thing to do was leave the parties
as you found them.
As you found them. They had no contract because there was no meeting of the minds as to what the particulars were of the contract. You get your truck back in a little better shape. You get your car back, probably in a little better shape, and
be on your way.
Be on your way.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.com. Marilyn Bahura is suing her former friend, Douglas Soroki, for storage fees and a wrongful eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2062, Bahar versus Soroki.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bahura, how old are you?
38.
What do you do for a living?
I used to be a cosmetologist.
What do you do now?
I'm not doing anything right now.
Who are you living with?
I lived in hotels. I'm staying now with a friend for 3 weeks.
How do you support yourself?
I'm on income that comes every month. I'm on disability right now.
Is your disability of a physical nature or psychological nature?
It's both.
And how much do you collect from disability?
Around $900.
A month?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been on disability?
About 10 years.
10 years? Yeah. And when were you a cosmetologist?
I started back when I was 16, during high school time. And I started doing hair, and I went to hair school, and then I ended up getting really sick. So I went back and forth to doing hair. And then I just couldn't do it anymore.
Well, when did you said you were a cosmetologist? When were you a cosmetologist?
During high school year, so it was like around 2000.
Oh, well, that's a long time ago. We're talking about ancient history.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is that since you were in your mid-20s, you have been on disability. Yes. And how old are you, sir?
69.
You're a single man.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me how you met the plaintiff.
About 4 years ago, she called me. I do auto brokering, where somebody wants a vehicle, and I go to the dealer and try to make the best deal for them, just like a real estate agent.
Tell me how she got your number.
So I advertise on Facebook, I advertise on LinkedIn. So I don't know exactly how she got my number.
How'd you get his number?
The truth is, I never got his number. What happened was, when we talk about, I'm looking for a car, I'm selling, I want to sell my car, he messaged me, hey, I sell cars, I can help you.
That's
2-3 years.
True.
That's very true. I have all the messages through Facebook and everything. But he messaged me, I can help you, how are you, good morning. I said, okay, you can help me. But
okay, I got enough.
Yeah.
All right, so let me sort of outline this case the way I am now putting it all together. You came on to some hard times, harder than usually your life is because of your disability, and you were in your apartment, according to you, and the building had a fire. Because of the fire, you became homeless. You had already known the defendant. He did something for you with a car. And you were living alone, I assume, in this apartment. How many bedrooms in the apartment? It was a one-bedroom. And did you have a lease in that apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were you paying in rent?
It was $790
Okay, so you were paying $790 for the apartment that burned down.
I'm sorry, $690. I apologize, $690.
And how long had you lived there?
It would have been 5 years exactly.
Okay, would have been 5 years before the place burned
Yes,
down.
ma'am.
And
Your Honor,
what?
they were evicting her.
At the time of the fire?
Yes,
No.
yes. And then
Just a sec, 1 sec. Don't shout out again. However, I find that interesting. She was living there for 5 years, and how do you know that she was being evicted?
she showed me the paperwork.
May I see it?
Yeah, it's my phone.
Douglas produces his phone, then hands it to Kevin.
Here's the letter that she had with the management.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Kevin brings the phone to Judy, who reviews a document on it.
I just see your request for a hearing, and the hearing was for what?
It was dismissed. I had...
No. The hearing's for what? Was it for an eviction?
No.
What was it for?
I had COVID, and I had Sarah pay.
Are you not understanding me?
No, a hearing for what? I'm sorry.
I said, was the proceeding an eviction notice?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an eviction notice.
They don't have proceedings for COVID. They have an eviction case. You may say, I don't have money because of COVID, and they give you time to pay. Were you served with an eviction
It was
notice?
a warning to go to court.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
For what? For speeding, for robbery, for assault, or for an eviction?
For non-payment.
For eviction. Listen. For eviction.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Only because when I told the judge said it's not an eviction.
I don't care what you told the judge. You were
No, he
brought
told
to
me.
court for an eviction. Kevin,
Honor.
would you return this
my
to her, please?
landlord took $9,000
just
from
a second.
Sarah.
Just a second. Ms. Bahara, let me explain something to you.
ma'am.
I don't know whether you watch me in the past or whether you don't watch me in the past, but I want you to know that I know exactly who you are. I know exactly how you live. I know exactly how you support yourself. I know who you are. I know all of that. So let's not play with each other. You're a smart lady. You've managed to negotiate at age 38 a system for yourself. So when I ask you, did you go to court for an eviction? The answer is yes. You want to explain it to me if I ask you what happened? Well, I paid it, and they COVID, they couldn't throw me out because it was COVID. You're not allowed to evict somebody during COVID. You want to explain that to me if I'm interested? That's fine. But if I say to you, were you summoned to court for an eviction? The answer is
Yes. Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Whether that had any impact on the fire in this building, I have no idea.
No, I don't. It didn't.
I have no idea.
And
The
when she
plaintiff
said-
says she was a heroine in this fire, according to her complaint, and she got a lot of people out of the building, and the things in her apartment were unscathed. Now, prior to that time, had you done anything other than help her secure a car?
No.
Did you help her secure a car?
No, I couldn't get it because her credit was terrible.
Just a second. Did she want a car?
Yes.
Okay,
Two
what
different
kind of a
times.
car did she want? That's the reason that you met.
The first time, something inexpensive like a GMC Terrain. The second time, she wanted a 2017 or 2018 Lincoln. I think it's MKX or MKZ.
What was she driving when she contacted you? Nothing.
Right.
Did she ever buy a car?
From me, no. But she did get one from a dealer. I don't know how they did it because...
Uncross.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you currently own a car?
No, I don't own a car. Well, now I have a car, yes.
That's what I asked.
Yes.
Yes, do you understand? You have to let me introduce you to the truth. Mr. Truth, I'd like you to meet the plaintiff. Do you have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
No, you're only nervous now because you know I understand you. You now have a car. And where are you living now?
With my friend.
Where were you living prior to that?
Hotel rooms.
When did you purchase the car?
March 27th.
What kind of car did you buy?
That was the Terrain.
What year?
2017.
How much was it?
With everything, I think it went to $24,000.
How much of a down payment did you put down?
$2,000.
And you financed the rest with whom?
They financed it with...
They had to go to a third-party lender.
I don't care. Do I look like I need your help?
No.
No. No, because I'm trying to find out how this lady, who has the sole income of $900 a month, lived in an apartment for $700 a month, managed to save up $2,000 to put down on a car, Car has insurance, car has gas, car has expense. You have to buy food, you need to take care of your hair. Looks like you buy nice clothes, look like you have some jewelry that's more than $900 a month, and you've been really on the doles for a decade. So I'm just trying to square all this with what I'm seeing. Do you understand where I'm going? Yes. Great. Okay. Now, so this is what you're complaining about. The defendant, after you called him, said, well, I have a spare room in my condo. You can come with me. And you say, well, I have all my stuff that I've accumulated in my apartment, and I have only one storage unit to put it in, and I'll have to pick through and discard stuff, blah, 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 because I can't afford a second storage unit. And according to you, the defendant said, I'll pay for the second storage unit. And at some point after you moved in with him and threw you out, he reversed the charges, and so you were charged for your storage unit for your stuff. That's part of your lawsuit, $600. Now, the main part of your complaint, for which you want almost $6,000, is for punitive damages because you claim that Mr. Soroki, while you were living with him, rent-free, food-free, everything free, made unwanted advances towards you. And I'm certain that what you did was put in this complaint the most egregious things that he did to you, because you would want me to know the most egregious things that he did to you, right? Okay.
Douglas shakes his head. Caption coming up.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea, too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Marilyn and Douglas.
Marilyn Bahura claims her former friend, Douglas Soroki, owes for storage fees and a wrongful eviction. Douglas is countersuing for property damage and false accusations.
So let me read to you what you say he did to you, the unwelcomed advances. He would walk around the house in his underwear.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, I didn't ask you anything. These are the most egregious things. And he patted my behind when he walked past me.
Not true.
Now, just a second. Those were the first two things that you tell me that he did to you. Now, how many times do you say he touched you?
Between 7 and 8 times.
7 to 8 times. Okay. When did you live with him?
I moved in March 5th of the fire.
And how long did you stay?
Till the 31st.
Of what?
Of March.
And what happened on the 31st of March?
I was trying to make phone calls to get a car behind his back because he took the privileges from using his car.
Just a second. So while you were living with him, he let you use his car when you needed it. And then he told you you couldn't use his car anymore?
So he didn't tell me. What he did was on the 24th, he said, we're gonna go to my son-in-law. I sold the car to some lady. Come with me, let's drop it off, which is the Cadillac that I'm using, because he has 2 cars. He ended up getting the electric Audi. He said, just use my car. Now, keep in mind, he's letting me use that car since March 3rd. March 4th, my house burns down at 1 a.m. So he goes and gives a car to some lady. We drop it off all the way.
Date?
March 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that's March 24th.
So I have no more car at this point, so the Cadillac is gone now.
You didn't have a car when you were living someplace else. So moving in with him, you had a car.
Yes.
Which was very nice because you hadn't had a car previous to that. So now we dropped the car off and now you didn't have a car.
Yes.
That's March 24th.
Right.
Then what happened?
I was trying to still figure out, and we had talked
You
about...
tried? You didn't finish to say you were trying to figure out what?
Figure out how to get a car, like to see what I can do.
Okay, so you were trying to get a car.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea, too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that. Okay. Now, you were driving his car, right?
Yes.
Ever think about driving for Uber? Seems as if you're perfectly capable of doing that. You drove a car. Go pick somebody up, take them back. I don't know how that would be affected by your disability because clearly you were able to drive. I'm going to get past that. we're back to March 24th. Now you're making calls when he's not around to try to get a car because you no longer have a car. You leave on March 31st. You want to tell me what the circumstances were that caused you to leave on March 31st?
So March 26th, he said, can you please go to a friend's house? I'm bringing a girl over. I said, yes, no problem. It's his house.
Okay.
You can do that. I said, can you please drop me off? I have a friend that was supposed to be my witness today. She wasn't feeling good. Can you drop me off because it's only 15 minutes where he's from? He said, yes, no problem.
And when you slept in the defendant's condo, you had your own room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we got up and everything was fine. He was rushing me out. We were talking, and as he showed me a picture of who he's bringing, I told Doug, shut my room door because I have stuff in there. So he dropped me off. I went to my friend. It was actually my friend's birthday.
I don't care.
Okay. So in the morning at 10 a.m., I get a text message showing me a one-dish plate on the sink. And he's like, you couldn't do a dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house. I said, anyway, should they drop me off or do you want to come get me? I want to come back home. He's like, no, I'll come get you. I'll pick you up. He came, he got me. We sat in the car. I said, hi. He's like, I asked you to do one fit. I said, wait, the dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house and everything. We went back to the house.
Then what happened?
He knocks on the door and he says, pack up. I'm calling you Uber, leave. I said, I have nowhere to go. Where am I gonna go? What do you mean leave? He's like, I just don't want you here anymore.
Now this is on the 27th. He tells you to leave. You call the police.
No, he called the police. I told him to call the police.
No, she didn't tell me. Just a second, because you didn't want to leave. Because
didn't have nowhere to go.
Because you didn't want to leave.
It's not that I didn't have nowhere to go. I had no car to leave anywhere.
Well, just a second. Are you living at a hotel after this?
I did.
After this. And how did you get to the hotel?
The guy that I purchased the car from brought it to his house, brought me that car on the 31st.
Just a second. So he asked you to leave and you managed to get a car and you went to a hotel, right? What happened between the 27th, because police were called, they came, and they evidently said you could stay?
1 week.
1 week. They tell you could.
There was two cops.
I don't need a whole story. Did they let you stay?
He said, how long would you like for you to have? I said, I need some time. I have nowhere to go. That's when. Yes, ma'am.
A week. But you left on the 31st. Did anything else happen between the 27th and the 31st?
No.
You packed up your things.
Yes.
And a car was delivered.
Yes.
And you left.
Yes.
There were no incidents.
No.
And so just so that I'm totally clear and understand, on the 27th, you were in a safe place in somebody's house. You have your own bank account because GoFundMe?
I have the page.
Oh, may I see it, please?
Sure.
Sarah hands Judy a tablet.
And the description
Okay.
is here. And that's how much it's.
Okay. My name is Marilyn, and I'm a fire survivor. Place where I lived caught fire. I left my apartment to go upstairs. I knew it was too late for one of my neighbors. I had to scream. I will make a long story short. It's taken a toll on me and everyone else. My main goal was to save everybody. We ended up losing everything because we had to leave the premises and we were not allowed to go back for 24 hours to remove what was left in our apartment. As for me, I now have nowhere to go and I need help to get into a place. I had to borrow a friend's transportation to get around, rent out a storage, and put everything there that I can. At this point in my life, it feels like a dream, and so far, you asked for $7,000, and so far you raised $1,772 from soft-hearted Americans. These people got to stay off the internet.
Whitney smirks. Douglas grins. Caption coming up.
I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And you've managed to find a place to go and find. Don't speak back to me.
Marilyn's eyes widen. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Marilyn and Douglas.
Marilyn Bahura has accused her former friend, Douglas Soroki, of sexual harassment while living with him. Douglas says Marilyn lied to the police and damaged his reputation.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, you raised almost $1,800. You didn't have a car before. No. You told me you didn't have a car before. Is that what you said, Whitney?
During that time, yes.
She didn't have a car before.
During that time.
Well, at that time is what I'm talking about. At the time of the fire, when you were living at this $690 a month apartment, you didn't have a car. You see, what I don't understand, madam, is that in the whole litany of your travails and troubles with the defendant, it sounded to me, a little bizarre. Taking in somebody he didn't know, dating somebody else, bringing somebody else to his house. But he's a 69-year-old man. He can do what he wants to do. He's not asking you for anything. You pay for your own storage. If you had to pay for your own storage, pay it out of the GoFundMe page. The thing that's most irritating to me is that you now, in order to get money from him, you sued him for sexual advances. And if they were so horrific to you, you've lived in motels before. You've lived in hotels before. You have friends. But it's sort of outrageous to try to convince me that you were so outraged by his conduct and still stayed, and when he tried to get you out, try to convince the police to let you stay because it was your home. That's what I don't understand.
The police said that she has...
Just a second. Do you understand what I just said?
Everything you're saying is not how it happened. Everything's a lie because he gave me the car 2 days before the fire. He told me I have an extra room. I'm gonna help you come clean my house. I'll give you $300, get back on, this is the truth. I'll get you back on your feet. I did lose my home. I did save people. Yes, I am.
You're not understanding what I'm saying?
I was never there for free. I paid for food. I helped him too. The car he'd give me, I go back and forth, help him bring in his papers to the car dealerships.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think he owes you for? You're gonna pay your own storage unit. That's why you went on a GoFundMe page.
He said do the GoFundMe. He called one of his friends from California. He's the one that sent $500. Yes, I saved it. That money from the GoFundMe and from whatever I got from my friends, I saved it to get a car. I said, are you gonna still help me put the down payment? He promised the down payment. He promised everything. Yeah. I have proof right here that he promised everything. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. This is all him saying.
Take care of yourself. I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And what I have a problem with is that some people really are subject in their workplace, in a domestic situation, abusive people. And when you try to use it to get money from, well, that's what you're here for. That's what you're suing him for. $6,000.
Right
$6,000. $6,000.
I could have.
Just a second. Just a second. Don't tell me you had nowhere to go. You've had some place to go for 38 years. For 38 years, you've managed to find a place to go and find. Don't speak back to me. You've managed to find some place to go for 38 years. And without working, hustle to live. However that was, whether it's through relief or food stamps or disability payments or cosmetics on the side, you've managed to not work and live. Well, that's what you told me. That's what you told me. Don't look quizzically. You've managed to not work and to live. Somebody who may have had ulterior motives. 70 doesn't go into 38, sir. 38 goes into 70. But 70 doesn't go into 38. So I would stay within my ballpark if I were you. Do you understand? And it doesn't belie credulity, which means I can actually understand that a single guy, 70 years old, now has somebody who's relatively attractive, that he's extended a hand to come and live with him, and he made an agreement with her. I don't even have to go into it, that she would take care of the apartment, she would clean up the apartment, she wouldn't have to pay you rent, she could use your car, all of that stuff. And there is no question in my mind, in your head, that somewhere down the pike there was going to be a payday. Just a second. Maybe, maybe not. However, the plaintiff has 2 good feet, and she was out of your house, and she insisted on coming, as she calls it, home. I had to go home. And then when the police came, she insisted on staying home. How much time do you need to get out? Because he wanted her out. I need a week here because I have no place to go. Okay, your case is dismissed. Listen, sir, you made a mistake.
I made a mistake.
You made a mistake.
Yeah.
Your mistake just got dressed down in an international forum because there's no question in my mind that this lady who lives by her wits, if she didn't want to live someplace, she wouldn't live there. So your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Marilyn, then Douglas.
I am a very humble person. I don't hurt people. I'm a giver.
Well, she knew that the girl was lying. And I knew that she'd catch it right up front.
She's the judge, right? But you know, the real judge is God. And that's who I put my faith in.
You can't do anybody a favor. She had a fire.
And she may have seen me dress up nice. I'm gonna take care of myself, whether I am homeless or not.
She called me at 1 or 2 in the morning, had nowhere to stay, so I let her in.
I'm not gonna come as a scrub. I'm not a scrub, so.
Sarah and Judy.
You know, people have to be so careful on GoFundMe, and there's no fact check on the internet. There's no way to tell whether she really did lose her belongings and was homeless from a fire or not. People can write whatever they want on the internet. And it really rubbed me the wrong way because I thought I read in her sworn papers for today, she said, I was able to save most of my belongings because my unit did not burn to the ground. And you read the complete opposite on her GoFundMe page that she was using to solicit money from innocent people online. And that really rubs me the wrong way because you're going to swear to this here in court today, but there is no such sworn testimony for the internet.
We've seen a few cases like that, even people feigning illness. And it's actually just a testament of the good-hearted people that live in this country that will give a total stranger based upon a caption, $10, $100, just makes them feel better. But when you find somebody who abuses it, it really hurts everybody because people will look at these GoFundMe pages, some of which are legitimate, as potential scams.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a woman who lives by her wits, and he's an older guy who should know better.
Also true.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy Justice Brianna Serrano for a personal loan, car damages, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2056, Garrett versus Codio scenario.
Thank you. Ms. Garrett, this gentleman, Michael Codia, is that
correct?
Codia?
Yes.
You and Mr. Codio have been lifelong friends, according to what I read in the complaint. Lifelong, you're both very young. How do you know him?
Well, we used to ride bikes together. His mom used to also braid my hair when I was a child every Sunday.
But you and Mr. Codia were never involved in any relationship other than just friendship?
No.
And Mr. Codia, Miss Serrano is currently your girlfriend.
Correct. Yes, Your Honor.
She had been your girlfriend and been living with you for a while, and you have a child together.
Yes, correct. Well, she's currently pregnant. So we're expecting, they're expecting.
Great. You had a fight with Miss Serrano, and that was around June of this year?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was a substantial enough fight that Miss Serrano left the home, and she left the home with your child. And how old is your child?
As I was saying, we are expecting.
So you don't have a child together?
She's 6 months pregnant, currently.
Okay. So you're just living, and she left?
Correct.
At about the same time, Miss Garrett, your friend, needed a place to stay.
I wouldn't say needed a place to stay, but...
What would you say?
It was more like, I kind of had a clue, like she had a place to stay, but it was just one of those situations.
No, look over here. Look over here. Okay.
Sorry.
Now, Mr. Codia, I want you to understand there are very few stories that are new under the sun. I want you to really understand that. I have children. I have grown grandchildren, boys and girls. I've seen all the movies that I want to see about romance and guys. So your girlfriend leaves you.
Yes.
Yes. And would it be fair to say that you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay with you?
Yes, it would be fair.
Had you ever invited her to come and stay with you before?
No, I have not. Not in the current apartment that I'm staying in right now, no.
Had you in another apartment?
No.
So the answer is you had never invited your friend to come and stay with you before?
No.
Interesting. So on June 27th, she left. On what date did you invite Miss Garrett to come and stay in your apartment?
June 16th.
June 16th?
Yes.
So 11 days before Miss Serrano left?
Miss Serrano left about a week prior to her coming.
What date did you leave, Miss Serrano? Do you recall?
I don't recall. I recall it was the end of, or mid-June of this year, I would say. I had personal things going on, so I really wasn't, Now,
Miss Serrano, I'm going to ask you why you left.
We had a falling out. Me and Michael had a falling out.
Yes. What did you and Michael have a falling out about?
Well, at the time, my mother was in the hospital, so that it was a disagreement surrounding having to move back home and take care of her in the household.
And
And that was pretty much it.
Well, what did he say? He said he didn't want you to, and you...
Yeah, he pretty much, long story short, didn't want me to move back to my mother's house. So that caused, you know...
Okay, so he wanted you to stay?
Yes. Yes, he wanted me to stay, but, you know...
He wanted you to stay. Now, did you know that the two of you were expecting at that time in June?
Yes.
So he knew that you were expecting a baby, that you wanted to go back to your mother's house because she was ill and you wanted to help take care of her. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
And despite the fact that he said, don't go, you left?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And it would be fair to say that he was annoyed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting this whole picture now. It's so easy. Okay. And about a week later, he invites this attractive young lady who's been a friend of his for a long time, a non-romantic friend, to move into the apartment.
Yes.
You know that that was nasty, right?
Oh, no, yes, I know.
You know that was nasty.
That was an agreement between them.
No.
And, you know.
But you know that that was a sort of a nasty thing to do.
Oh, no, I'm fully aware. Yes, yes ma'am.
I just want you to know what you're sort of dealing with.
Yes, I'm fully aware of what I'm dealing with. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so, Mr. Kodia, I wanted to sort of get even a little bit. You invite Miss Garrett to come and move in. No rent or anything, because you didn't have an agreement to pay rent. You weren't going to pay rent or anything, and you moved in. And you moved in on?
I moved in on the 1st.
On the 1st of?
July.
July 1st. Now, Miss Serrano, I'm going to come back to you because this is such a fascinating story.
Oh, Lord.
Such a fascinating story. And he deserves to get dumped on a little bit.
Oh, there's more where that came from, yes. I said that's more where that came from, yes.
Okay, and between the time you left and July 1st, when Miss Garrett was invited to come to stay at the house, were you in communication with Mr. Kodia?
Yes, I would say like every day or every other day. We spoke, you know, arguments, you know how it is.
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, you're pregnant and you have emotions and then you're taking care of family members and whatever, and so I got it. Did he tell you that Miss Garrett was moving in?
Yes.
When?
I would say I found out around like the 27th, 28th.
Of June?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that she was moving in.
I believe at that point she was already moved in at that point.
Okay, and what made you think that?
Just based off of how the conversation went or how he told me.
Tell me what he told you.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean.
Nashera smirks. Caption, coming up.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance on him.
Not getting on the food.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper too, wow.
I'm waiting for it to come over here.
Yes.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nashera, Michael, and Brianna.
Nashera Garrett claims her former friend, Michael Kodia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, owe for a personal loan and an assault.
Tell me what he told you. I'm curious. I want to know.
What I was told was that a friend was moving in to solely cook and clean. That's what I was told.
Okay, did he tell you who?
Who it was. I never met her.
But he told you who it was?
Yes, he told me who it was.
And that made you, I would probably guess, a little annoyed and unhappy.
I mean, I was annoyed.
I would be annoyed.
I mean, I was annoyed because I had personal things going on, but in between that time before actually realizing that she was living at my apartment, I actually had a brief interaction with her. I met her at a park. I met her. So...
Between the time you moved out?
Yes.
Okay. Was it you met because you contacted each other, or you met by accident?
We met because me and Michael just, you know, had a conversation to have had at that point in time. I'm assuming she was there in the area, so he just wanted to kill two birds with one stone. He said, do you want to meet the person, you know, who's there, who I'm living with, and that's how it went.
And was it a cordial meeting?
Yes, it was.
You met her, she met you?
Yes.
And he said, I just want you to meet the lovely-looking girl that I'm now living with because you went home to take care of your mother.
I guess so, if you want to put it...
Yes, he...
Don't forget.
This is what your case is about. First, you claim that you loaned Mr. Kodia $750 for rent.
Yes.
And you did that because he said once Miss Serrano moved out, she wasn't paying her rent. He was short on rent. That's what I read here. Mr. Kodia has a whole different story. He said while he told you that he was a little short on rent and he was going to have to get a third job.
That's not true.
Just a second. You jumped in and offered to give him $750. That's what you wrote here. Is that right?
Correct.
Now, Mr. Kodia, did you tell Miss Serrano that somebody was moving into the apartment just to cook and clean? That's what she says.
Yes, that's exactly my words. Exactly my words, yeah.
That's exactly what you told her.
Correct.
You didn't tell Miss Serrano, the soon-to-be mother of your child, that you had a roommate who was paying rent.
I did not.
Miss Serrano, what kind of work were you doing when you were living together in June?
I had a work-from-home position, will still currently do as a Medicaid specialist.
Were you sharing rent with him?
Yes, everything was 50-50.
Did you pay him any rent in July?
No, I did not.
Did you pay him rent in June?
Yes.
So you paid him the $750. That was your share of the rent? Is that what your share was?
That was my share of the rent. June was already paid for. July I did not pay because I did not believe I was going to be there.
Okay. Tell me what he said to you that caused you to give him this $750.
Well, he texted me one morning and said that Brianna was no longer going to pay her half of the rent as of July, and that if he could...
You were living there already?
Yes, and if I give him $750, he would give it back to me. And we never discussed anything about me cooking or cleaning. I actually brought groceries, which he said that he would pay me back for too, while I'm staying there.
Okay, so you were actually there for 5 days, is that right?
About 5 days.
5-6 days. And at some point around the first week in July, July 5th, 6th, or 7th, you came to the apartment.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We had went inside the apartment.
Who's we?
Michael and I, sorry. Michael
So
and
you
I
were
went-
so you weren't staying there. Where had you met him?
We actually met at work. We've been together for a year and a half.
I understand that. But you came home to the apartment together, and that was, I think, on the 7th of July.
Yes.
On the 7th of July. Where had you been? You'd been out. You hadn't been staying in the apartment.
Oh, no, yeah. I was out actually just going to rosaries and stuff like that. I actually went to go pick him up after a family function from work. After picking him up from work, we went back to the apartment, went upstairs.
Was that the first time you had been back to the apartment?
No.
Since you left?
Since I left, I've been there on and off. Like, not on and off, but like every other couple days. But I've been there, not living there, but I've been there spending the night and, you know.
Have you ever, when you were there, have you seen Miss Garrett?
Nope, but I've seen her belongings, though.
Okay. But you knew she was there because he told you that she was there.
Exactly.
So on the 7th, you picked him up, you went back to the apartment, and you'd been there before, but you had never actually physically seen her in the apartment.
Correct.
Despite the fact that you knew she was there.
Correct.
Because you'd been introduced to her.
Correct.
Okay. And what happened?
So we went upstairs. She seen that I was with him, and I guess that must have made her mad.
No, just tell me what happened.
So there was an argument.
Tell me what the argument was.
I don't even know what the argument was, honestly. She just seen me, and then there was an argument that unfolded about what I still don't know still to this day.
Okay, so now Miss Garrett, they came home, and?
Okay, so them two never came in the apartment together at all that night and previously.
No, just tell me that night.
Oh, that night. So me and Michael discussed that, hey, listen, things are not working out. He has had multiple people in and out his house, and he was making me very uncomfortable, as well as Miss Serrano popping up.
So what do you say? He's had multiple people in the house?
Guys, women every night. I would sleep in the park. One night I slept in the park because he had Miss Serrano popping up at 3 o'clock in the morning, her throwing my things around, telling me to get out the house. So I had to go in my car and go sleep in the park. And we had conversations that night when it happened, when she popped up. Hey, can I go?
What date was that?
It was, I want to say July the 2nd or the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before the 7th?
Right.
Okay. And that's when you went out and slept in the park?
Yes.
Just a second. Mr. Cody, you remember that evening?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And that evening on July 2nd or 3rd, Miss Serrano was around, and they don't get along.
They do not.
Which is exactly what you anticipated.
Of course.
When you invited her to stay with you.
Sadly.
Absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Going to have 2 women fight over the prize, the grand prize. Okay. Did you take $750 from her?
No, I did not.
Did you? I didn't ask you with a loan.
Yes,
I didn't ask you. She has proof that she gave it to you.
Yes, she
Okay.
gave it.
So let's not play, did you take $750 from her?
I did.
So it goes back to her. That's $750. Now we're going to get to what she alleges is the remainder of her lawsuit, which is damages for assault. Okay. On the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes.
Caption coming up.
You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is he invites someone, a woman, to come into the house because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nashera, Michael, and Brianna.
Nashera Garrett has accused her former friend, Michael Kodia, and his girlfriend, Brianna Serrano, of damaging her car and assaulting her.
Now, on the 7th of July, there was some sort of an altercation. You want to tell me what that was?
Yes. So that evening, I went into the house, and he had his witness, Darius, there. And
this person?
Yes. And me and Michael had conversations about him before, and I just thought it wasn't a good influence. So that evening, I walk in the house, and I'm sorry, let me back that up. I asked Michael if he's gonna have men come in the house, could he please be there while I'm there with them? Because I didn't feel comfortable. He said yes. So when I walked in that evening and saw Darius there, I texted Michael and said, Michael, we need to have another talk, because every talk we have, I'm thinking that we're having understandings, but we're not. So, and Darius set up a whole twin-sized bed up in the living room. So I went out to my car. I said, Michael, when you get home, I'm in my car, so meet me in my car when you get off. It was around 8:30 when Michael had came, and I was sitting in my car. Me and Michael were talking. And
was he in your car with you?
No. He was outside of my driver's side. So that's when Miss Brianna came, and she started hitting him upside his head. And I tried to get out of the spot that I was in. And next thing I know, my window's down, and she comes and she's attacking me, punching me in my face. She keyed up my car. When she first came up to my window, she keyed my car. Yeah, I can show you.
What? Okay, did you file a police report?
I didn't.
Why?
I just didn't. I took care of my bruises and my scar. I did call 911, but then I hung up. I just didn't. And
okay. Do you have photographs of your injury?
Yes.
Nashera produces photos, then hands them to Kevin.
There you go.
He brings them to Judy, who reviews them.
So what you're telling me is that this was a scratch across your chest.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a scratch that was caused by Miss Serrano.
Yes.
And that was in July.
Yes.
Ms. Serrano, I'd like to hear your version of what happened on the 7th of July.
Like I said before, there was just an argument that took place.
That wasn't, I want you to start the argument from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. She's outside in her car.
Mm-hmm.
Michael is talking to her at the car.
Oh, yeah.
Did you drive over there or did you walk? How did you get there?
I parked my car like in front of the house because they were on the side street. So I walked.
So you walked there?
Exactly.
You parked the car. Now let me ask you a couple of questions, Ms. Serrano. Yeah. Did Mr. Kodia ever give you an indication that Ms. Garrett was no longer going to be living there?
Not that I could recall, no.
Well, I want you to try to recall.
I was told after that whole day went, the day after that, the conversation was going to be for her to leave the house.
Okay. And what were you coming over for? What brought you over there at 8 o'clock at night?
For him.
What do you mean for him?
Well, he left something in my car. He left a charger or something. It was something he left in my car that I was returning back to him.
Did you tell him you were coming over?
Nope. I just popped up.
The answer is no.
No.
You were curious.
Yes, I was. Of course I was.
There you were.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
See what's happening to him? This fly is getting vengeance on him.
Not getting on me, too.
What the hell's going on? Oh, you got a swapper, too? Wow.
I'm waiting for it to come over here.
Judy with a fly swatter.
Did you seek medical treatment?
I did not.
Mr. Kodia, I'm going to wrap up this case because I really understand it. I believe I understand it. What I don't understand is why, and this doesn't require an answer, it's sort of a rhetorical question, why you would want to take someone who had been a lifelong friend and someone with whom you are having a child and put either one or both of them in a situation, they don't know each other really, so they don't know whether to like each other or whether not to like each other. I mean, I assume that at this point you would, at least Miss Serrano was planning a long-term relationship with you, and she's having a child, and I assume she thinks you're going to be there to be supportive of the child. Maybe. You have other children?
Yes, I do.
How many children do you have?
I have another son.
Okay, how old?
5 years old, 5.
And he lives with his mother?
Yes, he does.
So you see.
Yes. There you go.
Judy raises her fly swatter.
This one's a pesky one. I'm usually good at it. I missed it before.
Whitney grins.
I don't know why you would put them in a situation where they would dislike each other all to satisfy your ego.
Wow.
Oh, that's exactly what you did. You put them in a position where two apparently nice ladies, both of whom care about you in different ways, you put them, well, do you care about him?
Yes.
You think she cares about him?
I've never, the entire time I was with
They just know each other for a long time.
It was way before me, so I guess if you would have put it like that.
And they also went to senior prom together.
Just a second.
Wow, like
I didn't ask you.
I'm
listen
sorry,
to me.
Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. This is not a shout out. What I'm telling you is, it goes to his character. He knows her for a long time. They never had a romantic relationship. With you, he's had a romantic relationship. You did something that annoyed him. You went back to take care of your sick mother, which also attests to his bad character. And then what he does is, he invites a woman to come into the house, lets you know about it, because he knows that it's going to irritate you. That's exactly what happened. He acknowledges that. That doesn't make him a good guy. So I want you to think about that. But I absolutely believe that you caused a scratch on her, which you can't do. Anyway, Mr. Cody, you owe her $750. And Miss Serrano, you can't put your hands on anybody, no matter how angry you are at them. And I'm awarding her $1,000 for you putting your hands on her. Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I was very satisfied.
I mean, I know it would cause havoc, but
Different women every night,
I try to keep it in secret.
and that's why we stopped being friends before, but I definitely learned my lesson.
I feel like it's unfortunate. I feel like she manipulated the whole situation.
The friendship is over.
He's gonna be a father to my child, man.
Sarah.
After working with you now for almost a year, I'm starting to get so jaded from these cases that I'm starting to think that just staying single might be my best option if these are the alternatives. Yeah. Just blows my mind. He admitted to just pitting an old friend and your fiance, who's pregnant with your child, against each other.
To satisfy your ego.
Yes. Sounds like a terrible idea, was a terrible idea, turned out to be a terrible idea, and it'll land you in court on occasion.
You're right, but rethink that staying single part.
Think about it.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. Neighbor Nathan Moon for vet bills from a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2034, Smallwood versus Moon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Smallwood, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes.
You probably share a common area either in the front or the back. You have small dogs. I think you have a large dog or two.
And 2 of them, yes, ma'am.
Hmm?
Yes, ma'am, 2 of them.
And it is your claim that one of his dogs attacked your dog on your property. The dog was injured. You want the defendant to be responsible for the vet bills that you had for your dog.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
I've been living in the neighborhoods for 23 years.
And what about you, sir?
2.
Do you own your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
And you?
I rent it.
Are you familiar with Mr. Moon's dogs?
Not at all, sir.
Have you ever seen them before?
No, ma'am.
You mean in the 2 years that he's been there, prior to this incident, you've never seen his dogs?
They live in a back cul-de-sac from where I am.
Do you have adjacent property?
No, ma'am. He lives maybe about, I want to say almost a mile.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct, sir?
I guess so. I don't know exactly where her house is either.
Well, so you don't have adjacent property.
We just live in the same neighborhood.
How did your dog get out? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am. So the one.
Try to speak up.
I guess it jumped over the fence.
What kind of a dog is it?
A pit mix.
On what day did it jump over the fence?
About 2 months ago from today.
Has it ever jumped over the fence before?
It has.
Then you don't have a big enough fence.
Well, she climbs the fence. It's not that she just hops over it. She actually literally climbs it.
Then you keep her inside. then you keep her outside if she wants to be outside, and you keep her on a chain.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if you were aware of the fact that your dog can get out from over the fence, then the dog is not in your control.
Correct.
On what date was your dog injured?
May 10th.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see the incident?
I didn't see it right away, but as I set the dogs out to use the bathroom, went back in the house, put some clothes on, heard a commotion, went back outside, and that's when I seen the first attack. And I yelled at the dogs, and they took off running down the street.
How many were there?
2.
Were they pit bulls?
Yes, ma'am. It's to my knowledge.
What color were they?
White.
Is that the color of your dogs?
Yes, ma'am.
And they were together, the 2 of them were together?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that was the first attack.
Right.
So your dog was okay?
Well, he was laying in the ground, and I ran and put clothes on. I yelled at him. The dogs took off running. I come back out to get him, but he's on the other side of the yard. I have a half acre, so he's literally on the other side of the yard.
Your dog or his dog?
My dog, after I seen the video. I wasn't sure how he got there, but the animal control say I don't have a case unless I have video. And I looked at the video.
Where did you have a camera? In your backyard?
In my front yard. It's in
You
the
have
front.
that video here?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Video footage of a dog.
Is that your yard?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's your dog, sir?
That's my little one, the black and white.
The little one is your dog, but the big one is his?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see there.
Judy, Sarah, and Whitney wince at the footage. Catherine appears with her dog in the footage. Judy turns to Nathan.
You understand what the problem is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why don't you, Mr. Moon, tell me what the problem is?
So I think she was there to prevent it, for one. So there's other videos too, but she came out, she shushed my dogs away, they ran off, and then she went back inside and left her dogs outside with no leash or fenced in.
That's in her property.
I went back.
How do I know what?
That's on her. That's her property.
How do I know that's her? There's no property lines or nothing?
No,
or?
that's her property.
Okay, well.
That's her property. You live a half a mile away.
Her dog could have ran out of her yard. He was like halfway out in the yard or field or whatever that was. You know, I mean, her dog came out barking at my dogs. And if he really would have wanted to hurt the dog, then he could have killed the dog if he wanted to. I feel like he was more
Just a second,
more playing.
Just a second that's an interesting statement. He could have killed her dog if he wanted to.
Right.
That's an interesting statement. Did you see her dog? You know what kind of dog hers is?
No, I mean, it's a
little Schnurdiger.
Right.
Right? Little one, maybe 5 pounds, maybe 6.
3. 3 pounds.
Okay. You think that if her dog, and then you've got a little Pekingese?
That's Pomeranian.
Pomeranian.
Yeah.
It's got a little Pomeranian. Do you think that if those dogs got out from their fenced yard, like your dog, do you think if they came across your dogs, they could kill it? Or both of them? You think they could?
No.
Okay. Let's take it a step further, Mr. Moon, because you're not giving me the answers that I want to hear. So let's take it a step further. Do you think that if Miss Smallwood's 2 little dogs got out, like your dogs got out, and they came across a toddler playing in their backyard, do you think her 2 little dogs could kill the toddler?
Probably not.
Could yours?
Probably so.
Probably so. So do you think that you have a greater or a lesser responsibility as the owner of dogs that are capable of killing a human being? You think that you owe a lesser or a greater responsibility to society as a whole to make sure that those dogs are within your control all the time?
Judy glares at Nathan, who averts his gaze. Caption coming up.
You want to be a fool and own dogs that are capable of killing, you have to be responsible. Just as if you had a wild tiger, you wouldn't leave it out in the backyard in a fence that it could climb.
And later today.
Is that what they call it, installation?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually refer to furniture as an installation. I never knew that they referred to a wig as installation.
2 women grin. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Catherine and Nathan.
Catherine Smallwood claims her neighbor, Nathan Moon, owes for vet bills from a dog attack.
So you think that you owe a lesser or a greater responsibility to society as a whole to make sure that those dogs are within your control all the time?
Correct. Well, since then,
And what you told me, I'm still venting, because for those people in the world that decide that dangerous dog breeds, those dog breeds that have been deemed dangerous in every state in the United States, and insurance companies won't insure you if you have certain breeds of dogs, and yours are within that little group of dogs. Most insurance companies, unless you pay a very high premium, exclude injury from those dogs. So you understand that you have animals that are deemed dangerous, and you told me 5 minutes ago that your dogs are able to climb over the fence, and they've done it before this incident. Isn't that what you told me? I mean, I have my reporter here who can read it back. Isn't that what you told me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you agree with me that your dogs are capable of causing death to a human being, and that your dogs have been able to get out from the enclosure that you prepared for them, then there is no question that you are responsible for any damage that your dogs do to another dog, to a child, to an adult. You want to be a fool and own dogs that are capable of killing, you have to be responsible. Just as if you had a wild tiger, you wouldn't leave it out in the backyard in a fence that it could climb, because if you did, you would be responsible if it ate 3 people. Do you know how many people pit bulls killed last year? They just killed another one in New York. A woman ate her. So you want to be a fool and have a dog like that, you're responsible for any injury it causes.
I also have pictures of the injury.
I'd like to see it.
Catherine hands a photo to Kevin, who brings it to Judy.
How much were your vet bills, Miss Smallwood?
The vet bill was $1,421.
A puncture wound.
And I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Moon. So there's no question you're responsible for her vet bills. No question. But because you told me that your dogs had gotten out before and you didn't remedy that situation, I'm tacking on another $1,000, which is what she's requesting. And while it's not for pain and suffering of the dog, because I'm precluded from giving you that kind of an award, it's a deterrence for people who have dogs that can kill, to keep those dogs under their control all the time. And if you don't want to do that, get a Pomeranian. We're done. $2,400. Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Nathan, then Catherine.
Our dogs weren't on leash or in a fence either.
Well, I'm glad she understood the dangers of pit bulls.
She was just requesting the vet bills.
Glad she seen the case going my way.
I mean, she just wanted the money and said that her dog was injured.
Just hurts my heart still.
I wish I could have had more control over my dogs.
To see him, slung around like a rag.
Man, sorry.
Contain your animals.
Sarah and Judy.
Yeah, one thing you picked up on but didn't quite name it was that when he knew his dog was capable of climbing over his own fence that he had enclosed the dogs in, he was on notice from that point forward that his dogs were capable of getting out of the yard. He knew that they had potential to be dangerous dogs, and he chose not to do anything about it. And you can't claim anything was an accident after the point where you were put on notice. So I agreed completely with your judgment.
A, I'm glad you agree with me, and B, I'm glad that the money was well spent on your education.
Kevin.
Case number 2038, Stewart versus Thomas. All parties, please step forward.
Precious Stewart is suing hairstylist Karani Thomas for damages from a wig installation.
Ms. Stewart, you're complaining that the defendant who tried to restyle or reinstall a wig that you had recently purchased did a terrible job. And in addition to doing a terrible job, she tried to fix it, and then she didn't return it to you.
Exactly.
So you want the cost of the wig.
And the install.
And what?
And the install.
And the $200 that you charge you for the installation of the wig. Is that what they call it, installation?
Yes, ma'am.
Usually refer to furniture as an installation. I never knew that they referred to a wig as installation. Okay, you purchased this wig when?
I purchased a wig on February 12th.
Of what year?
2022.
Can I see the receipt?
Yes, ma'am.
Precious hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Okay. And you paid $697 for it?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you bought wigs from this particular outlet before?
Yes, ma'am.
That's not her outlet?
No, ma'am.
And did this outlet where you purchased the wigs from, did they also install it?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you install the wig that you purchased?
The first time that I installed it was March 3rd.
What did you do with it between the 12th and the 3rd?
You said between the 12th?
12th of February and March 3rd.
Well, she had it.
Who had it?
The lady
The
that
other
I purchased.
lady?
Yes.
What did she do with it?
She just held it in because she installed it for me the first time.
Not understanding me. You purchased it on February 12th?
Yes.
Did you use it or did you not use it between February
No, I didn't
12th
use
and
it.
March? Didn't use it. So the first time it was installed was March 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have other wigs?
Yes, ma'am.
That you use regularly? The first time it was installed, according to you, it didn't look right. And you thereafter contacted the defendant. Had you ever used her services before?
No, ma'am.
How did you know about her?
She did a fashion show with me and another girl before, and she was a model. That's how I was introduced to her before. We proceeded to follow each other over social media, so I was, watching her do hair and post her videos and stuff, so that's how
So you contacted her on what date to do a reinstall?
I believe it was...
It was
like
March.
No, it wasn't.
In the month of March?
Yes.
The same month that you had it initially installed?
It was the end of March.
But the same month?
Yes.
And you went to her home? Is that where she operates?
Yes,
I gather that you were in her home.
At the time, yes. She used to work inside a studio.
What I read in your complaint was when you left, you noticed that the installation had left certain, according to you, bald spots in the netting.
Yes, ma'am.
And you contacted the defendant?
Right away.
Do you remember that call, Ms. Thomas?
Karani shakes her head. Caption coming up.
You had a dissatisfied customer who wanted her money back.
Right.
What did you do with the wig? Because you now had the wig.
Right. I reconstructed the wig. So after we
What did you do with it?
She told me she sold it. Sorry.
I didn't ask you anything.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Precious and Karani.
Precious Stewart claims hairstylist Karani Thomas did not properly install her wig and never returned it.
Okay. Do you remember that call, Ms. Thomas?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what she said to you when she called.
She said that specifically there were spots or gaps that she needed to be fixed. So I told her that she can come back the next day and we would fix whatever spots because she didn't send me a picture. So I just told her, go ahead, come back the next day.
But she did, in fact, pay you the $200 for installing the wig.
Her coming back the next day wasn't an extra charge.
Did she come back the next day?
No.
Do you know why?
She did not come back at the time that she was supposed to because she said that her carpets were getting clean and she forgot. I also have proof of that in messages.
I'd like to see it.
Karani produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy.
Thank you.
She reviews it.
Okay, so it looks as if the day that you had set to go there, you kept stalling it because you had workmen in your house.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I have a
Yeah, that's a yes.
I
You
had a maintenance man.
Yeah, that's yes. You had workmen in the house. She said, come. You had workmen in the house. And then you asked to come when her baby was sleeping. And she said, don't come when my baby is sleeping because the dogs will bark and wake up the baby.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the only page that I have here.
Yes, Your Honor.
So when did she come back?
Afterward, that same night, I have another paper. She didn't come back, and then she sent me this text message letting me know that she got in contact with another hairstylist that's apparently a friend of hers, saying that...
No, I can read.
Oh, okay.
Kevin brings the document to Judy, who reviews it.
Okay, so what you say in this text is that you showed the wig to somebody else.
Yes, Your Honor.
And they told you that it couldn't be fixed because too much was plucked away and whatever.
Too much of the lace was removed.
And you want a full refund and a wig replacement. And then you say, I hate this because you're a very sweet person, very talented. I'm not sure how we got here. I'm going to proceed with removing the wig from my head. I'll bring it to you so you can see if there's any saving possible. Thank you and sorry for the inconvenience. When did you do that?
The same day.
Okay, so you brought it to her.
No, I didn't bring it to her. I told her that the same day that I was.
No, when did you bring it to her?
I brought it to her the next day.
Okay, so that was still the end of March, or was that the beginning of April?
I believe it was still the end of March.
It was March 26th.
So you brought it to her, and what happened?
I brought it to her. She said that she would try to fix it. She then proceeded trying to fix it. She sent me photos of what she tried to do, which wasn't really much of anything because it still looked bald, as I have a photo right here. Still looked the same way that it looked when she took it off. When she put it on. Also, I have these photos as well as what it looked like the next morning. Looked like it was disintegrating off my head. That's a proper install the next morning, a few hours.
Just looking.
Doesn't do that.
Okay.
Judy examines photos of the wig.
Okay. I see them. Would you show these to the defendant, please?
She's seen them.
Yes, I have them.
You have them?
She sent that to my phone.
Okay, great. I'll take them back now. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome, Judge.
Okay, so you had a dissatisfied customer who wanted her money back.
Right.
What did you do with the wig? Because you now had the wig.
Right. I reconstructed the wig. So after
What did you do with it?
She told me she sold it. Sorry.
I didn't ask you anything.
Sorry.
What did you do with the wig?
It had been over 2 months since we had in contact with each other. I just got rid of it.
How did you get rid of it?
I threw it away.
Why?
Because I had spent money that went to waste and I replaced it. I couldn't do anything with it.
What do you mean replaced it?
I replaced the frontal that she said I made bald. So I spent my own money. I reconstructed it by putting a new frontal on the wig. I have messages of her agreeing, saying that the new work looked good, and she would not come pick the wig up because I wouldn't do another install on her head.
May I see those?
Karani flips through a pile of documents.
I assume those text messages go into April and May.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're not that far away. And I would assume that the wig doesn't take up that much room in your house.
Well, she didn't come back until June.
It doesn't matter.
With the police.
What does that matter?
She said that she didn't want it anymore.
Good morning, Boo. I will be home tomorrow. Okay, I'll get back to you, take pictures of well. Okay. Well, in any event, you had no right to either give it away, sell it, throw it away until this matter was resolved. So you owe her, first, the $675 that you spent for the wig.
May I speak?
You can speak all you want, but you owe her the $675 that you spent for the wig. You had no right to throw it away.
Even with her saying that she didn't want it anymore?
I never said I didn't want it, though.
But you did. I have proof of that.
You said I did. I said I didn't want it.
Are you talking to each other? If you talk to each other, then I dismiss your case. Do you understand?
Sorry, Your Honor.
Bottom line. So if you have proof that she said to you, you can discard the wig, then I'll say, I don't want that wig anymore. You owe me for the wig because you ruined it. That's a different story than I don't want it anymore.
Okay. Can I?
Do you understand?
Can I find that?
Absolutely.
Karani flips through her documents.
I don't know if what I'm trying to find is in the papers that you have or here. So I'm sorry if I'm taking long. I'm reading.
I don't see anything in the papers that I have here that says you can get rid of it.
Okay, I do. I have it. Well, it doesn't say get rid of it, but it does say you can keep the wig and give me my $700 then.
Oh, yeah. I can understand that. So did you give her money? You kept it?
No.
You kept it?
I did not.
Did you give her money?
No, I did not.
Well, then you owe her $697 for the wig and the other $200 that she paid you, which I believe she did for the install. Judgment for the plaintiff, $897. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Court is
Your Honor.
adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Precious, then Karani.
I think she made the right decision.
I feel like the judge made the wrong decision.
I was trying to let things die down, maybe a civil person.
We both came to an agreement that I would reconstruct the unit.
It would have been like, hey, it doesn't belong to me, let me just give it back.
The problem was that she wouldn't come back and pick it up because I wouldn't install her hair again.
Just give me my wig back. And she told me no.
I felt I didn't owe her any money.
I don't got the wig, but I'm getting my money back.
In her chambers, Judy with Sarah.
Simple,
Yeah.
easy. You can't throw away somebody's property.
Yep.
The only thing that I was amazed at in the complaint, Sarah, is that she sat there for 5.5 hours
Yeah.
while she had this wig installed.
Yeah. Beauty is pain.
I cannot imagine sitting someplace 5.5 hours without leaving with a baby or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
the things women do for beauty.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv for unpaid wages, property damage, and stolen belongings.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Gus. Case number 2028, Eliasoff Blanchard versus Blanchard.
Thank you, Kevin.
Welcome.
Eliasoff?
Yes, ma'am.
That's you. How old are you?
19, almost 20.
19.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do?
I am a server.
Since when?
As of June of this year.
This is your boyfriend?
A fiance, yes, ma'am.
Fiance. And how long has he been your fiance?
For over a year.
What does he do for a living?
He is currently unemployed.
When was the last time he had a job?
That was about a year ago.
What kind of work did he do a year ago?
Warehouse work.
Is there any reason that he hasn't worked in a year?
He has concussions and back injuries. And
from what?
From car accidents.
Does he currently have any lawsuits pending with regard to those accidents?
No, ma'am.
So the accidents were your fault?
No, they were the other people's faults.
The other people had no
insurance? The other person didn't have insurance at the time. So later on, he ended up stating that he did have insurance and got out of the ticket.
Do you see a doctor regularly?
Not anymore, no. I used to, though, until I ran out of my insurance for health insurance. And then the bill just kept stacking up on me.
At that time, did you have an attorney?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have an attorney with regard to, did you ever consult an attorney with regard to these accidents? No.
No.
Okay, fine. Is there any reason why you're not working?
Yes, ma'am. I have bad back problems that I've had for quite some time. I have 4 discs out in my lower back. I also have knee injuries, shoulder injuries. I was pushing my body more than I should have been. I was over 300 pounds working in a heated environment, working every day. And I dropped all the weight, and then I ended up hurting myself even further from there. And then my doctor told me not to do anything over 20 pounds, so I went against her rules, and I did it anyways, and I kept injuring myself.
What kind of work does your father do?
He works as a U-Haul business associate and mechanic as well.
When did you live with your father?
I lived with my father in January, I believe it was 8th.
January of what year?
Of 2022, sorry.
After you have been disabled all this time because of all the heavy work?
Yes.
Let me give a general outline of what this case is about.
Yes, ma'am.
You and your fiancé were living where?
We were living with my father.
No, before you lived with your father.
My father.
Her father.
In what state?
Wyoming.
There come a time when your father either said it's enough or you decided that you were no longer happy in Wyoming?
It was a conflict with his girlfriend that came about.
Whatever it was. If it was a conflict with his girlfriend, your father told you to skedaddle.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And you called your father.
No, I didn't call my father.
Who did?
My father called me.
You mean just out of the blue?
Yeah, he does it at random
No.
once in a while.
He just called you at about the same time that your fiancé's father told you to get out.
Yes, is what I believe. Anyways, I've had a few concussions, Your Honor, and I don't remember a lot.
Okay, we're going to get there. In any event, you had a discussion with your father that you didn't have a place to live, you didn't have a job, she didn't have a job, you had no money. Her father was kicking you out of the house, and he drove cross-country to get you.
Yes, ma'am.
In what month?
It was in January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles did he drive to come and get you?
I think 1,000 miles, maybe.
Each way?
Each way, probably about 2,000 total, something like that.
Okay, so he drove 2,000 miles to come and get you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then he brought you back to his house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you weren't working.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girlfriend wasn't working.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if you weren't working, the girlfriend wasn't working, you had no money, so your father was taking care of your expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And now you're suing him. And you're suing him for a host of things, which I'm going to give you a relatively short time to tell me about. But one of the things that your fiancé says is that your father owes you for wages because you worked for him.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing what?
I was doing U-Haul work, basically.
What is U-Haul work?
Oh, sorry. I'll explain. Sorry, ma'am. Basically, what we do
Not basically. I don't want to hear basically.
Sorry.
I want to hear what you were doing.
I would hook up U-Hauls. I would also clean and inspect all the vehicles.
Just a second. Hook up the U-Hauls.
Hook up the U-Hauls.
Clean and inspect them.
Clean and inspect them.
What does it involve in cleaning them?
Basically spraying down.
Not basically.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry. We spray down all the.
Not we. You.
Yeah. Sorry. I spray down every single surface of the innards of the vehicle. Basically, the steering wheel, the floor plates, the radio, everything.
And when you hook them up, explain how you hook something up.
How I hook something up is just backing up, lining up with
So you'd have to drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving a car and backing up?
Yes, ma'am. And
so,
then,
you're using a rearview mirror?
Yes.
And yourself? You're looking to see where you're backing up because you have to use both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then you hook him. Well, what else did you do for your father?
I also did paperwork for him, doing like inventory stocks and stuff like that.
Terrific.
Basically.
Not basically, I don't want to hear basically. Basically is a filler
Sorry,
word.
ma'am. What else was I doing? I would sweep, clean up his shop. I would do a lot of things.
Okay, all while you were unable to do anything else?
Yes, ma'am. I would.
Just a second.
What were you saying?
After your back issues, after your concussions, after whatever other injuries that you had from working someplace. By the way, you don't have a lawsuit pending against anybody, do you?
No, ma'am.
So it's just a question of fetching, other than maybe trying to collect a disability somewhere along the line from the federal government. You were able to hook up U-Hauls, clean them and sanitize them, sweep out the premises, do paperwork, but you can't work. I mean, because part of the lawsuit is about all this work that you did, but all while you're telling me that you're unemployable because of all the injuries that you had.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, you understand how ridiculous that sounds to me.
Yes.
I only had one other case in my recent memory that sounded anywhere familiar to this story, and that was a man that was also receiving disability because he had a bad back. He was the plaintiff in a lawsuit suing someone because he had built them an outdoor patio deck alone, and he wasn't paid the $6,000 for it. But he had been collecting disability for a back ailment for 31 years from the federal government. That sound odd to you?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it sound odd to you that you're able to put hookups together and sweep and everything else, but you can't say, do you want a hamburger with your fries or fries with a burger?
Yes, ma'am.
That sounds peculiar to you. Right, so I don't want to hear about work. Okay, that's the first thing. And you lived in your father's house for how long, by the way?
I think we only lived there for the first month, and then we ended up getting moved out to a camper for like the last bit of the, I think, 2 months that we were there.
I don't know what you're suing for. You want to tell me?
Caption, coming up.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go.
And later today.
That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100, and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used?
She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Kaya, Brandon, and William.
19-year-old Kaya Eliasov and Brandon Blanchard claim Brandon's father, William Blanchard, owes for unpaid wages and stolen property. William is countersuing for moving expenses and property damage.
Now, I'm not entertaining your wages because you can't work. That's what he just swore to. He can't work. That's why he's unemployed. He has 4 disc problems. I think he said 4. Whatever, he can't work. Forget him now. I want you to tell me what you're suing this man who drove 2,000 miles to rescue you after your father threw you out. I want you to tell me what you think he owes you for.
For the stolen property of my vehicle.
What stolen property of your vehicle?
He stole my toolbox with the key with it and also parts that went to my vehicle.
Did you take her toolbox?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Next. What's next?
Whenever I confronted him about it.
About what?
About the toolbox when we went to go get my truck, then he would say what he just said, that he never took it. But when I asked him where did the key go for it, he denied he would just ignore that fact.
Well, it's not a fact. It's not a fact unless you can prove that he took your property. You said he just said to you, I don't have your toolbox.
But my vehicle was on his property, in his possession.
Okay, and that's what you have. Your vehicle, while you were living there, was on his property, and therefore he's responsible for the toolbox.
Yes, ma'am. When he kicked us out and then told us to come back for the truck, he was going to give us 2 weeks to have it towed.
Because the truck wasn't working, but he let the truck stay on his property for 2 weeks.
Yes.
What else are you suing him for?
Just for the repairs on the vehicle.
On what vehicle?
On my truck. That whenever I went to go get the truck off his property after that 2 weeks, that's when the toolbox was missing, and I also looked under the hood, and there was wires hanging out, and those wires, I do have pictures.
So just a second. Let me ask you this question. You said, you said he gave you 2 weeks to come and get your truck off his property. The truck was inoperable when you left it on his property. Wasn't running.
No, ma'am.
That's right. You did not come to get it off his property in 2 weeks. You came after the 2 weeks.
Yes, ma'am.
How much after the 2 weeks?
I think just like a couple days after. We came back on April 23rd and we left the property April 6th.
So it was after the 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, let's get there fast because I'm quickly losing patience with 2 ingrates.
Here's the pictures.
I don't want to see any pictures of what? Of the truck?
The parts that were missing.
I don't care. I don't care. After 2 weeks, he could burn that truck. It's on his property without his permission. Let's go. Move on. Your father came 2,000 miles to get you. He fed you for a month. He kept a roof over your head for a month. In return, you're suing him for nonsense. Let us move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a countersuit that actually you wouldn't have brought now because you didn't have an agreement with your son and his fiancée when you went to get him. How many children do you have?
8 altogether.
Prior to going to get him cross-country, when had you seen him?
Been several years.
Tell me about the conversation when he contacted you.
He said, Dad, I have no place to go. We can try to stay with her grandmother. I offered, said, I'll come get you if you have no place to go.
And then?
Within a week, I dropped everything to go get him.
Now, when your son and his fiancée came to you, sir, did you put him to work in your business?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long was he in your business?
Altogether, maybe less than 90 days.
Did he work in your business after they moved out of your house? He says they only lived in your house for 30 days.
They were in the house 45 days, and then they were left another 45 days inside of a camper.
Can you tell me why they moved into a camper?
There was a chance of my daughter coming home, and they were living in her room at the time. And so I wanted to make sure they still had something, so I put them into a camper.
Camper on your property?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of camper?
Small camper.
So they used the inside of the house to shower and
yes, Your Honor.
Stuff, but they slept in the camper?
Yes, Your Honor.
All true?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And he paid for the camper. He paid for the electricity, water, etc. when you were now. She wasn't working. Did he also pay for the food? Did you eat in the house or did you eat in the camper?
No, ma'am. We were getting food stamps. So we paid for our own food. And we also helped them with their food as well.
Why were you getting food stamps?
For the short bit of time because he recommended to get on food stamps.
Had you been on food stamps when you lived in Wyoming?
No, ma'am.
Okay, how did you support yourself there?
I was working at the time.
And what about him?
Driving company, basically, we go around, pick up food from places and deliver.
So you were able to drive?
Yes.
Oh.
For only a little bit.
With all those injuries? Amazing. Okay. I would like you to testify, sir, now to the conversation that you had with your son with regard to compensation for coming to pick him up in Wyoming. Be very careful what you say to me.
I told my son before I picked him up, I said, you need to pay me back for this trip.
Did you tell him what for the trip? I mean,
yes, for all
time?
expenses. All expenses for the trip.
For the expenses?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was he supposed to do that? He wasn't working.
He was supposed to get a nighttime job on top of working, helping me out around my shop.
Did he help you around your shop?
He
You
did.
said about 90 days. Did you pay him?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if he worked for you for 90 days and you didn't pay him at all, and it cost you a couple of $1,000s, according to you,
yes, Your Honor,
to go out and get him, hire trucks, spend time back, whatever it was, and he worked for you for 90 days without compensation, why do you think he did that?
I was hoping just because that's what he really wanted to do.
No good deed goes unpunished. You went and you got him, and now they're suing you, but their case is dismissed. They have no case against you. It's all a bunch of nonsense and ridiculous. But likewise, sir, your counterclaim is for the expenses that you incurred in going to pick them up. I don't actually think that there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, but even if there was an agreement to pay you back for your expenses, the fact that he worked for 90 days without any compensation, I think, more than compensates you for that. As a result of that, your counterclaim as well is dismissed. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
You try to do your best for your kids whenever you can. This is no different.
It's been very difficult growing up.
I hope he gets his life together.
I don't want anything to do with him.
I'll always be there for him.
It's time to cut the strings. I'm done with him.
That young man sounded as if he was intelligent. That doesn't mean he was smart. That means he was intelligent. Because at age 19 or 20, to have already figured out that you can't work because you have a bad back unless you really have to work. If you really have to work, then you can work for your father. That's a bad mindset for a very young person. That means that your life is really going nowhere. You're not preparing yourself to do anything.
And to take it a step further and to sue the only person that was there for you in a time when you needed them.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Case number 2059, Dobson versus Jones, Poindexter. All parties, please step forward.
Clarissa Dobson is suing her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones Poindexter, for a trip and wedding expenses.
Judy.
Miss Dobson, I assume this is your brother.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And this is his wife.
That is correct.
They're newly married.
That's correct.
When were they married?
June of 2021, June 26th.
Were you at the wedding?
Yes, I was. I was in the wedding.
Wedding at your house?
Wedding was at my home.
This is the unfortunate circumstance that I read in your papers, which I hope to be able to resolve quickly. You've known the defendant for many, many years.
Yes, that's correct.
She became engaged too when she was getting married, and they were planning a wedding, according to you. And Miss Poindexter, according to you, asked you to lay out certain monies for her for the wedding.
That's correct.
They were married. It was a joyous day, I gather. And then you asked her for the money back.
Yes, that's correct.
And she said, I never agreed to pay you any money. We're family. I've done things for you. You've done things for me. There was never an agreement for me to pay you. And your brother, he said, leave me out of this.
Yep.
I don't want to get involved with this. You two ladies take care
That's
of it
exactly
on
what he
your own.
said.
Okay, well, it seems like a family matter, then more like a court matter.
Caption, coming up.
I
don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too, I don't believe it.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Clarissa and Kenesha.
Clarissa Dobson claims her sister-in-law, Kenesha Jones Poindexter, is responsible for trip costs and wedding expenses.
You have your own home.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me about your home.
Nice home, got a lot of land around the property.
How much?
I would say probably a half an acre, which was big enough to put up 2 large tents, 45 guest tables, chairs, the mayor, some police. It was nice.
And there were certain things that you paid for.
Yes, that's correct.
You paid for a photographer?
Yes, that's correct.
How much?
The photographer was $300, Your Honor.
Okay, what else did you pay for?
Because the party was held at the home, the wedding, excuse me, all the events pertaining to the wedding party had to take place at the home.
Like what?
So like when we had our bridal shower meetings, because also Miss...
Oh, you mean the meetings to plan the wedding?
Right, to plan the wedding.
I'm not interested in that.
You're not interested in that?
I'm not interested in that. Yeah, so far we have $300 for a photographer that you say you laid out. Did she lay out that money?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Her rides back and forth.
I'm not interested in her rides back.
Well, how was she going to get there? She's in Philadelphia. I'm in New Jersey.
$300 for a photographer. What else?
And just money she asked to borrow for the most part throughout the wedding.
Just a second.
So we have...
How much and when? So far, $300 for a photographer.
So on January 20th, Your Honor, we have $150.
For what?
She didn't say what it was for. It was for the wedding, though, because I have it here. Everything wedding is here.
Well, did she ask you for this $150 on the phone, in person?
She asked for it, like, over the phone, but then I sent the money, too. So anything that I sent to her, I always sent to her through Cash App because she's in Philadelphia, no car.
Okay. Then let me ask Ms. Poindexter. Ms. Poindexter, there would be no other reason for Ms. Dobson to send money to you through a Cash App during the wedding period other than for the wedding. Would that be accurate?
Not in January, Your Honor. We didn't start planning our wedding until 90 days before June. So anything that happened in January had nothing to do with my wedding.
Okay. Do you have Cash App statements before January?
I have nothing before January.
She has nothing before.
I have everything
Only
from
after.
January on.
Only after. So that would be for the wedding.
We didn't start planning our wedding until about March. We got married in June.
So what would she be sending you money for?
It has been times, I'm sorry, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, it has been times if I didn't have it or I might have needed a car fare or something, and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
No, I'm not talking about vice versa. I don't have a counterclaims. That you said perfectly. I would ask her for $50 or $100 and she would lend me that. Is that the word she used? Let's make sure I heard that right.
She says, it has been times when I'll ask her for, let me get $50 or, there has been times. And you asked her why. She said, if I didn't have it or I need a car fare or something. and she would do that. She would lend me money and vice versa.
Thank you. Lend me money. So, okay, now we're going to get to Ms. Dobson. How much money did you send her via Cash App? Because she's already just acknowledged that those were loans.
So 150, 100.
Let me have the dates.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All
let's
right.
go back. 150 on what date?
January 20th.
Okay, 100 on what date?
February 11th.
Next.
March 8th, $50.
Okay.
April 4th, $100. May 11th, $20. May 17th, $25. May 22nd, $205. 15 on May 25th. May 28th, $45. June 3rd, $15. And I had a February 28th in here for $50. That was the first one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had February 11th only, so you have another...
Right, a February 28th for $50.
Can I see all of those?
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Clarissa hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
Okay. Sarah Rose, would you fix that up for me? Okay, and you, based upon the read back and based upon what I thought I heard, anytime she sent you money, it was because you ran out of money, you were in a bind, and she loaned you the money. That's what was here. Excuse me. So you have
$775.
$775. Has she paid you back any of that money?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, the photographer. I want you to tell me how it came about that you paid the photographer.
Because Miss Jones / Poindexter was waiting on unemployment to hit. And I'm not saying she wasn't trying to get the money up, because she was. But when the time came, this photographer guy needed to get paid, she didn't have the money.
Want to tell me about the photographer?
Yes, the photographer, I believe I was short like $300 some odd dollars, and Clarissa did put the rest of the money.
Why didn't you pay her the $775?
I don't believe I owe Clarissa.
Well, you just told her that she loaned you the money when you were short, and she wired it to you or did whatever they do in a Cash App. I don't understand all of that. You said it was a loan. Is there any reason why you didn't pay her back? No. Okay. So far I have $775 and $300. Next.
Okay, so now we have the trip. They are the godparents of my twins. Your Honor, we were inseparable.
Okay,
So,
they're the godparents of your twins, your
Yep.
twins.
came time for their birthday. She said
Month and year.
April of last year, 2021.
Okay, April of 2021.
Right. So in the process of planning the twins' birthday, Miss Jones Poindexter said, oh, I would like to go. I'm just waiting on the unemployment, pandemic money, all that to hit. When it came time to go, they didn't have the money.
You're talking about the defendant and your brother. Yeah. They both went.
Right, so...
Just a second. They both went.
They both went, that's correct.
And what kind of work does your brother do?
He was a chef at the time.
So he was working.
Yes.
And she wasn't working.
Yes. Can I say something?
You can say whatever you want to say. You know where I'm going, don't you?
I know where you're going.
Okay.
Like I said, we were inseparable, right?
I don't care. I don't care about the social aspect of this.
Okay, but certain things she just didn't want to let him know she was doing, because at the end of the day, she thought she was going to get this money.
Miss Dobson, I don't care whether you say she didn't know what she was doing. You were already in a place where on January 20th, she didn't have $150, so you sent it to her. On February 11th, she didn't have $100, you sent it to her. On March 8th, she didn't have $50. You had to send it to her. So I don't see stupid written over here.
No.
If somebody doesn't have $50 and you think I believe that you relied on her statement that I'm going to pay you for this trip that your brother is going on too because his godchildren are celebrating a birthday, I don't believe it. So let's just forget a trip. $775 is what she says she owes you because she says it was a loan. $300 for the photographer. You have the pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't hear anything from you suggesting to me that this $300 was a gift.
I honestly did believe that she was doing it for our wedding.
Okay, good. $1075, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
So, Your Honor, what about my
adjourned.
That's it.
It's just a sad situation all the way around.
That's probably how she feels right now.
I love my sister-in-law.
She loves me and I love her. So what?
Honestly, I just want to be able to see my godkid.
I'm sure we'll be all right.
It's always unfortunate and sad when nice occasion turns sour by one thing.
Yeah.
And I thought the brother/husband was
the smartest one.
The smartest one. I'm staying out of this between my sister and my wife.
Yep. The safest place he could be was right where he sat. Just unfortunate. I mean, families squabble all the time, but just to bring it into a legal system, there are ramifications for that sometimes your anger or emotions can get the better of you.
That's true.
But to take it to a filing stage and to use the court system, that's just a next level that I feel like most family members don't need or shouldn't do.
Yeah, you're right.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv. Is suing her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Wilson, for living expenses, stolen property, and vet bills.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2049, Councilman versus Jorge Watson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Horath, this is your mother,
Yes, ma'am.
and this is your girlfriend.
My fiance, yes.
Is she divorced?
She's widowed.
Since when?
June 6th,
Of what year?
2022.
Well, let me understand this. Prior to you being a widow, you were involved with Mr. Horath. Were you divorced?
I was going through a divorce.
Okay. And then he passed away.
Yes.
Mr. Horath, in 2013, you were incarcerated. How long?
5 years.
And you have 2 little girls.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were incarcerated, were the children living with you prior to being incarcerated?
Yes.
They were living with you?
Yes.
When you went to prison, was there any reason the children didn't go with their mother?
She left him with my mother.
So your mother obtained custody of your children 9 years ago
Yes.
and raised them.
Yes.
You got out of prison when?
September 2017.
And when you got out of prison, your mother invited you to come and live in the house?
Yes.
In her house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else lives in her house?
My grandmother.
Who I understand from these papers is suffering from
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. So your mother was taking care of her mother and your 2 daughters.
Yes.
So your fiance now, who looks as if she's expecting a child, was your mother's next door neighbor?
Yes.
And you became involved with her when?
End of October 2020, or 19, I'm sorry.
And when you became involved with her, you have 2 children.
Yes.
You invited her with your mother's permission to move in to your mother's house with her 2 children.
Yes, ma'am.
We did agree that she could move in and stay in the guest.
Had you been living in the house by yourself with the 2 girls?
Yes, I have.
How large a house is it?
It's pretty good, decent size. It was 1,980 square feet, now expanded out another 800 feet, so quite. 5 bedrooms, 3 baths.
How do you support yourself?
I own my own business. I'm a nurse. Due to the fact of taking care of my granddaughters and my parents at the time, I had to resign from Fort Irwin, working there because of couldn't commit to the hours. So because of that, I went ahead and got my own business of doing home infusions, and that started right before the pandemic. And so I work a lot.
Anybody help you take care before they moved in? Anybody help you take care of the girls and your mother?
No, it was me.
Now, what kind of work do you do?
I'm a truck driver.
And you?
Nursing student and mother?
So you don't work?
No.
How do you support yourself?
I was going to school and...
Well, supporting yourself doesn't going to school unless you were getting money for going to school. Were you getting money for going to school?
Yes.
From whom?
From financial aid.
How much?
Maybe like $800, $900 a month. And this was before I was living with Danny and Nancy.
And after you moved in with Danny and Nancy?
I was helping her take care of her mother, and her VA was paying me to take care of her.
She was getting the Veterans Aid and attendance. I gave her that extra money to help out with my mom and those expenses.
And then currently, I'm taking care of our young son we have together.
So you have a child together and expecting another one?
Yes.
So then you'll have 4 children, correct? Yes. And you will have 4 children?
I will have 4 children, yes.
Sounds as if your mother did some very nice things for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds as if Miss Castleman did some very nice things for you.
Yes.
Why do you think she's suing you?
Out of anger.
Mr. Horath, why would she be angry at either one of you?
Because we decided that we were going to go ahead off and do our own thing, and she was no longer included in being part of that.
Like what?
Well, being part of a family or a unit. Once my grandmother's health declined and she went to a facility, there was no more communication about anything that was going on around the house anymore.
I don't know what you mean by that. Your fiancé's arrangement was that she was being paid by the VA to take care of your grandmother.
Yes.
And then your grandmother, according to you, had to go into a facility.
Yes.
which means your fiance isn't getting any more payment from the VA.
Correct.
Now, you're working, you drive a truck.
Yes.
Were you contributing towards the running of the household?
Oh, of course. Yes.
How much?
Whatever needed to be paid.
No. Tell me what you paid.
I paid the Edison, half the Edison.
Well, that's not a set amount.
I
Do you
paid
understand?
$300 a month.
Well, that's an amount. So you paid $300 a month towards the Con Edison.
Yes, ma'am.
What else did you pay?
We paid for the trash.
How much was the trash?
$50 a month.
What else?
I paid for the food.
For who?
For our family.
Well, for all of you or just for you, your fiance, and the 4 children?
And my grandmother, yes, and my grandmother, and Nancy, too.
Not for me.
Shh.
Speak.
She would come over and have dinner with us quite often. And I would make her meals and send them to her.
What you're saying is, because I read when you said she would come over for dinner, there came a time when there were an awful lot of people living in the house, and your mother, because it was so crowded, moved into a trailer on the premises, and you moved into the master suite.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Say thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Now, did you pay for anything else that you're not telling me?
Yes, we paid for the internet.
Their internet.
Yes.
Shh. For your own internet?
Yes.
I'm talking about expenses for the house. I assume the mortgage was paid off. Is that what you wrote here?
Danny did pay for the property taxes.
Okay, well then, that was my next question, property taxes. Did you pay for any of that?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
It was $12.64 a year.
Anything else?
Remodeling expenses that we did to the home.
I know it was expanded, and it was expanded after you were there.
Yes.
Yes. And do you know how much the remodeling expenses were?
The additions were done before I came home, but everything else was added to when we were living there.
Like what?
The pellet stove had went out, so we bought a new one.
Oh, that's I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm not interested in that. I'm talking about regular. So let me get to my trusty computer. We have $300 a month for Con Ed. So I don't even have to do that. I could do 1, 2, 6, 4. Everybody knows me now. I'm a little challenged with regard to these things. Divided by 12 equals $105 a month. And $300 a month for Con Ed and $50 for trash is $5. So you paid in total the expenses that you told me, $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house. I'm just setting the stage for this. You paid $455 a month for living in a 5-bedroom house, and your mother moved out to live in a trailer so that you could be in the master suite with your fiance, a new baby, and one on the way. Those are the objective facts that I have.
Okay.
Now, so I asked you, because your mother is suing for a lot of stuff, and I don't understand why somebody would take this approach when she was nothing but good to both of you. You screwed up your life. She got stuck raising your 2 children, working full-time, and taking care of a sick mother. You go to school, and you're a full-time mother, but that's very nice, but she's not your mother, she's not your grandmother, she's nobody to you. Mm-hmm. And she took you in and your 2 children. What do you think you did to make her so angry that she would sue you? I'm curious.
I honestly don't know.
Well, you started to tell me that you moved on because she ultimately gave you notice to leave.
We actually gave her notice we were leaving, and that's when all that started.
Okay. Did you also tell your mother that you wanted to buy the house?
Yes, I did.
From her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, that started the trouble. And your mother's response was?
Of course. She said, okay.
And what happened?
I went and applied for a loan. They told me that I did not meet the criteria for the loan. I said, okay, that's fine. What about a rent-to-own option to buy? And she said, okay. We tried to get a real estate agent to go ahead and write out the contract. At that point in time, she wanted to move one of her nurses onto the property, into the trailer that she was living in. I did not feel comfortable with a stranger living on our property. I don't know them. I don't want them around my children. I don't know who they are. And if I'm going to be buying a home, I wouldn't want to.
You're not buying anything. You were renting.
With the option to buy. I want to buy the home, and then when I go back to apply for the loan in a year, I was going to buy the home.
Maybe, maybe not. Mr. Horath, so far, you see, you have somebody who has done all things to make your life, which you screwed up a little bit, more comfortable. Takes you in, takes your girls in, takes your girlfriend in, takes your girlfriend's kids in, allows you to have more latitude and more freedom by moving herself out of her own home, which is totally paid off, into a trailer so that you could be more comfortable. And she said, you want to buy the house? Fine. You couldn't get a loan. Well, could I rent to buy? She says, okay. But she's still a working person, as opposed to your fiancé.
Caption, coming up.
You ratified the gift by buying her something that could only be utilized with that machine. So I'm not interested in the machine. Could we move forward, please? I have 7 years of postgraduate education. I'm getting very tired of this case.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nancy, Danny, and Trinity.
Nancy Castleman claims her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Watson, owe for living expenses and stolen property. Danny and Trinity say they always paid their share of the bills.
Okay, now, she's still a working person, and she said, I would like to move one of my nurses. She's not talking about moving in some sex offender into a trailer next to her grandchildren, who she's raised. So I wouldn't see what your problem is with that, but that's neither here nor there. So that started an acrimonious separation. I'm not going to rent the house because I'm not going to allow you to move somebody that I don't know. I'm not even going to meet them. Somebody that I don't know into the trailer. Where are you living now?
We have our own home now.
Where?
Because we didn't agree with, we didn't want to live with her nurse, so we went
Just a second. I said the question is, where is your own home?
in Hellendale,
Is that where she lives?
near
How near?
10 miles up the road.
And when did you move there?
July 14th.
How big a house?
It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath.
Who owns the house?
We're renting
And how much are you paying in rent?
$2,500.
So you got a smaller house at 5 times what you were paying her. Is that what I'm hearing? You paid $455 monthly to your mother.
We also paid her van payment, but we
What?
also used the van. Her van payment, it was $900 a month.
Did you use the van?
Yes.
Good. Then you,
Well,
good.
we used it to also take her mother to,
Did you use the van
yes,
for you and your children and his children?
yes.
Yes. Okay, good. So I want to know if she's right down the road and she was good to you for a decade, why is she not included with your family anymore?
She chose not to be.
Really?
Yeah, she wants to work all the time. When we invite her to do things or family functions or church functions, she would never come.
Well, you say never. You just moved out a month ago.
This is prior to us moving out. We haven't talked to her since we moved.
You mean prior to you moving out, you would invite her? And what you said was, could you read that back? She's working all the time? Is that, I just want to know if that's what he said.
He said, yeah, she wants to work all the time. When we invite her to do things or church functions, she would never come.
Okay. Unpaid living expenses, electric bill. All right, let's get to the electric bill. He said he paid $300 a month. What does he owe for the electric bill and for what months?
I was on a level pay plan for every month, and it went up higher. The rates have increased for in the past year. So that was $900. It was $1,800, the bill that came out. So it actually increased over the last year, and I have copies of that. So I asked for them to pay half.
Did they ever pay the extra money?
No.
Okay. And they continue to live there?
That just came up in May, yes.
Okay, well, then I'm not interested in that. Go ahead.
And
what else?
so-
What other living expenses?
Well, the other electric bill, they were still there. They didn't pay for that one.
Which
was
one?
The one from June to July.
Were you there in June, July?
Yes, ma'am. And I have evidence that I did pay.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
Paid 3, not the whole amount.
No, I did pay.
Just let me see that you paid it.
Danny produces a document, then hands it to Kevin. He brings it to Judy, who reviews it.
June 19th, $600.
That was not for this electric bill. It was for the,
No, that was for Edison.
It says Con Edison.
Yes.
There was another bill that still needed. It was like $723.
I don't care.
That he owed me
I
for
don't
that.
care. He paid $600 in June of 2022. You have vet bills here and personal items taken without permission. And the personal items taken without permission, you took some of her things. What did you take that didn't belong to you?
Nothing.
Well, you acknowledged that you did. You acknowledged that either you or your fiance took things that didn't belong to you. You said you returned them, but you took them.
They were packed by other family members that were helping us pack.
And? So they were taken without her permission?
Yes.
By your agents, by people who were helping you, so they were your agents. What was taken?
I guess there was a gun that
Not guess, I don't want to hear guess.
There was a gun that was packed.
Okay. Did you get the gun back?
I got the gun back next day.
It was returned, yes.
What else?
That's as far as I know.
What else was missing?
The ammo.
The ammunition for the gun.
I don't have any ammunition.
I wouldn't have a gun without ammo.
Well, go and look for it. What else?
KitchenAid machine.
What is that?
A KitchenAid for mixing and making. I bought that for my mom. They took that.
That was given to us by my grandmother because she can no longer bake, or actually given to her because she bakes.
And she even, for Mother's Day, Nancy brought, her and Granny, her mother, Nancy brought me the attachment. It makes pasta for the KitchenAid for Mother's Day. So she was aware that her mother gave me, when she moved to the facility, that she gave me the
Oh, she moved to a facility, she can't make a gift. If she's moving to a facility because she has Alzheimer's, she can't make a gift.
I have power of attorney over her.
Now, if what you're telling me is that you did take it and that the plaintiff sort of ratified that by buying you an attachment for it for Mother's Day, that I'll ask her about. Okay. Now, Ms. Castleman, listen to me very carefully. Did you buy Miss Watson around Mother's Day a pasta attachment for the KitchenAid?
Yes, ma'am, I did. For my mom. With my mom.
I don't...
Because they were supposed to be cooking together.
No. No. You bought an attachment for it, and if you buy an attachment, that was a gift, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you made the gift, you handed the gift to whom?
To Trinity.
Right. So even if your mother didn't have the mental capacity, you could have argued, to make a gift, and it was yours, you ratified the gift by buying her something that could only be utilized with that machine. So I'm not interested in the machine. Could we move forward, please? I have 7 years of postgraduate education. I'm getting very tired of this case.
Okay.
Anything else? Vet bill. Now we'll get to the vet bill. Okay. You had to go to the emergency room when and for what, Ms. Castleman?
I was having issues with my stomach. I was diagnosed with diverticulitis and had to go to the emergency. I can
imagine. When?
That was in June, beginning of June.
June of this year. Who took you to the emergency room?
I had to take an Uber. I couldn't drive.
Who was home?
Trinity and her family.
And her family. Mm-hmm. And when you went to the emergency room, where was the van?
The van was at the home.
Why didn't she take you to the emergency room?
She said she couldn't do that. She said that she was too busy and stressed out.
Is that right?
I was dealing, my children's father just passed away that day.
And I was there with
Just a second. You were separated from him. Why couldn't you take her to the emergency room?
Because my children just found out that their dad passed away. So I was dealing with their emotions.
Just a second. I'm just trying to figure out why you couldn't take her to the emergency room. You've been living with your mother for a while now, since you got out of jail. How many times has your mother been to the emergency room?
Quite a few.
How many?
More than 10 that I know of.
And did you take her to the emergency room since you've been home?
No. I have before, yes.
How many times did you take her?
2 to 3 times, at least.
When was the last time you took her?
Maybe a year ago.
And what was wrong then?
Her sciatic nerve.
Did you wait with her?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, because that's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Excuse me a second.
Get it.
Judy produces a fly swatter, then swats a fly with it.
Okay. Don't write to me if you're a fly lover. I don't care.
Caption, coming up.
You did absolutely nothing wrong. If I looked up the word ungrateful in the dictionary, their pictures would be there.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Nancy, Danny, and Trinity.
Nancy Castleman has accused her son, Danny Horath, and his fiancée, Trinity Watson, of taking advantage of her kindness. Danny and Trinity claim Nancy became upset when they stopped doing her favors.
Well, Miss Watson, I know that you have an excuse. If it were me and I had been living off somebody else for years, I would have put my kids in the van and say, we have to take Grandma to the emergency room. That would just be me. And deal with my children in the van 5 minutes later.
And I would have if I wasn't dealing with my children at the time, and she was aware of that. I think she even took a Lyft or an Uber. She let me know it was okay.
I'm just telling you. I'm trying to get some sympathy going for the two of you. I'm not getting any sympathy going for the two of you. Did she ask you to watch her dog?
No, she, like normal, I have a dog too on the property, and it was a mutual agreement that anytime one of us were gone, we would always make sure the dog went out to use the restroom. But the day her dog had an injury, I wasn't home.
Where were you?
Gymnastics competition.
It just happened at night.
When was your dog injured?
On the day that I went to the ER. I asked her before, I said, I have to go, my lift is here, you know, and can you feed my dogs? And because they're in their trailer still, and Molly's still on the bed, and I didn't want her jumping down, and can you take them out? I don't know when I'll be back. The Uber was there, or the Lyft was there, and I left. And when I came back home, it was about 5:30 in the morning. I noticed the dogs were in there, and that Asher was cut up. He had big old laceration.
Did you know what happened? Could you figure out what happened?
No, I think I know now that it was probably under their trailer while he was out, because she did say that she took him out, but she forgot to feed them, and she was home.
That night I was home, yeah.
Did you see her dog injured?
No.
Did you feed her dog that day?
No, I did forget to feed the dogs. I took her small dog, Tamale, off the bed, and I had them go out, and then I put them right back in, and I went back on to the house.
And you forgot to feed them?
Yes, I did.
Okay. But when you went in there, the dog was not injured?
No, he was not.
Okay. The last part of this, and then I'm actually finished. Money owed for unpaid living expenses. Anything other than what we have discussed?
They're supposed to pay rent.
Starting when?
It was supposed to initially have been in November for January of 2022, because since my mom had to go, you know, away because she couldn't take care of her anymore, you know, I had to do what I have to do.
You mean after she stopped watching your mother?
Mm-hmm. That's when I mostly enforced it. But there are text messages that they agreed to pay.
I'd like to see them.
Okay.
I understand, Mr. Horath and Miss Watson, that the agreement was that you would live there paying certain expenses but not rent, as long as you, Miss Watson, and or Mr. Horath, when you were home, would take care of her mother so that she could work.
Yes.
Yes.
And that stopped at a particular point.
Yes, in May.
That stopped in May.
Yes.
Okay.
Judy reviews a printout of a text exchange.
Well, it does seem that there were arguments back and forth about these expenses, but never wholly an understanding that that was going to happen.
Your Honor, I had several conversations with my son while he was truck driving. He didn't really talk to her particularly because I think she had a lot of influence on that. He would have done the
Whether he did or whether he did, this comes from Danny himself. He says, okay, check this out. I'll call the state inspectors for the septic room additions in the bathroom that needs permits first.
She did.
Just a second. What kind of thing is that? How many times have you been married?
2.
And how old are you?
37.
How many times have you been married?
2.
And how old are you?
28.
And that's 2 in addition to this current engagement.
No, then it would just be 1.
And you?
Just 1.
Well, then you're not married, so you've each been married once before.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to look at your mother. Maybe in the next couple of years, maybe, she will be here, and maybe she won't. I'm sure when you married the first time, you expected that to be forever because you made a couple of children, right?
Yes.
I hope you'll be able to see that face for a very long time, but she had another husband before you. You're only going to have one mother. And your mother was really good to you and really good to a stranger and her children. And she didn't invite them in and say, well, I'm going to apply for some assistance because now, no. She worked all the time. According to you, she chose to work. She chose to work all the time instead of going to church with you. You have no idea how ridiculous that sounds. You have no idea how ridiculous it sounds to me that Miss Watson says to me, I have children. I can't work. Well, she had 2 children, yours. And she worked and had your 2 children that she had to take care of. And she's much older than Miss Watson. Do you understand? Yes. If you have a work ethic, you have a work ethic. If you don't have a work ethic, you don't have a work ethic. But right now, she took care of you since you got out of jail. That's a long time. And for you to cut her off from yourself and her grandchildren is pretty outrageous to me. But you're 37 years old and you have 4 children. Now 6, because they don't have a father anymore, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So I don't know what you were doing with all your extra money, but to your mother you were paying $400 a month for a 5-bedroom house, and now you're paying $2,500 a month rent in a 3-bedroom house, and I assume that that's plus trash, Con Edison, and internet, and everything else that goes along with the house. So I don't know who's paying for that, unless you were just stashing away money. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't even want to go into it. Anyway, Ms. Castleman, it's not worth it. You did the right thing with him. You took him in. You did absolutely nothing wrong. But you didn't have a contract with him, and you didn't have a contract with her. And I can't enforce giving you money when there was no enforceable contract. But if I looked up the word ungrateful in the dictionary, their pictures would be there. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Nancy, then Danny, and Trinity.
I'm grateful for the things that she did say so they can understand where I'm coming from.
She has no control. She gets upset and wants to see revenge in any way she can.
Those words are not from him. I know my son.
We had a good relationship before all of this transpired.
They don't get it.
Well, I hope that we can all eventually get back to that point for the sake of the kids.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, I don't think that there's a legal lesson there to learn, Sarah.
I know, it's just so unfortunate because I feel for the plaintiff. As a grandmother, as a mother, you try and do the right thing, and just to feel so taken advantage of. And I didn't hear a good reason. I was waiting the whole time to hear a good reason for why she was this terrible person that they had to move away from, but it never came.
Well, the only thing that I came up with was that she agreed to let them rent the house, rent to buy.
Yes.
Because they couldn't buy the house. They didn't have sufficient funds. But there was a condition. Now, she was living in a trailer on the property. She said, I want to be able to move somebody in there because I'm going to have to find another place to live, and I'm going to need money. If I sold the house, I would have some money.
And I'm sure to pay for her mother in care costs money as well.
She's a hardworking lady. She had 2 little kids that she had to take care of, in addition to a sick mother, in addition to working full-time.
A lot of stress.
While this one is in prison, and the girlfriend is going to school.
No legal lesson, but hopefully they work it out.
Hopefully. Be too bad if they didn't.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to Judy Justice.
বলেন ভাই বলেন ভাই আমার কথা শোনা যাইতেছে তার মানে হ্যাঁ শোনা যাইতেছে হ্যাকার 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 হ্যাকার